So if I put them on either side, they stay out of the middle. That shouldn't be bad.
My chair, testing.
I will speak very softly.
You have to speak up. You can speak a little bit. My check. 3, 2, 1, my check.
From Pedro, St. James, Savannah, good afternoon and welcome to the 2021 National Heroes Day celebrations on Grand Cayman. I'm Shanda Gallego, joined by Radio Cayman's very own Susan Watson.
Thank you, Shanda. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, yesterday, Cayman Brac and Little Cayman had their National Heroes Day celebrations. It was quite nice, and the seafarers were honored. I know there were some seafarers that were not on the list, but they will be honored in the district days. The seafarer theme will continue all through the year. Right now, it is the Eastern District's time for the celebrations of the Heroes Day 2021.
Part 1 of 2, might we add. Radio Cayman is bringing to you live this coverage as well as on CIGTV. Welcome to each and every one of you. If you're tuning in via Radio Cayman or watching on CIGTV, we welcome each and every one of you. Yes, Cayman's seafaring heritage takes center stage this year, and it's for the entire 2021. We're so pleased to bring you this live coverage, and we are actually looking at the first of many things happening in 2021 as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, as you guys know, one main difference this year is, of course, the attendance by invitation only due to COVID-19 restrictions and protocols. Unfortunately, we had to sort of scale down the format as well as the numbers by invitation only. So what's happened is that the attendance is with the award recipients, the program participants, as well as their invited guests. So protocol office organizers are strongly encouraging you guys to tune in instead to the live broadcasts on Radio Cayman and on CIGTV. And don't worry, we're giving you all the details and all the things that you need to know, the sights and sounds of this year's celebrations. And as Susan mentioned, it happened first in Cayman Brac for the Sister Islands. Susan, how was that? What were some of the highlights?
It was nice to be home. Let me say, first of all, it was a great honor to be home and to be in the midst of the seafarers of Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. National Heroes Day recognizes the outstanding contributions made by our seafarers and highlights the inspiring stories of our seafaring heritage and celebrates the industry that is part of the history and culture of the Cayman Islands. And thank you for joining us right here on Radio Cayman as well, and watching on CIG on their YouTube channel and on their Facebook page. This, of course, Shanda mentioned, is the second day of celebrations as we pay tribute to our seafarers. Today, it's National Heroes Day celebrations for the Eastern Districts, taking place here at the historic site of Pedro St. James Castle, Savannah. I believe in 1831, Pedro St. James served as a point for the first elected parliament in the Cayman Islands, and this location has since been known as the birthplace of democracy in the Cayman Islands. And it's a pleasure to be joined by Shanda. Nice to be talking to someone and have a co-host as well.
Yes, Susan, to be honest with you, I didn't think this would happen this year. I didn't think it would happen because of the COVID-19 pandemic. But we're fortunate, based on our protocols and the safety measures that we've had in place, we have made it here. And even though it's a slightly scaled down event, we're still very fortunate to have the full ceremony and events for the National Heroes Day. At this time here at Pedro St. James, we have 4 contingents from the Fire and Prison Services, the Pathfinders, and the National Cadet Corps, led by the police band, all standing ready, on standby, ready for the official ceremony to begin. Susan, everyone looks amazing here.
Yeah, we saw the detachment of as you mentioned, the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service, and I believe that might have been the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service band that was playing, and then the Cayman Islands Fire Service, all standing at ease at the moment until the official beginning of this second day of celebrations for the National Heroes Day 2021 for the Eastern Districts. And and the program pretty much looks the same as Cayman Brac. They're going to have some activities, including the letter from sea from Andy Martin. Of course, there's going to be the different recipients and the different categories. Massive ceremonies will be, of course, our Cabinet Secretary, Mr. Samuel Rose, and there's going to be the official arrivals. We will see the Premier, the Honourable Alden McLaughlin, His Excellency the Governor, Mr. Martin Roper, will also join us. And there's going to be some conch shell blowing by Mr. Deal and Miss Ariane Ebanks, and the proclamation will be read by the Deputy Speaker of the House of Parliament, the Honourable Miss Barbara Connolly.
Once again, the National Heroes Day celebrations 2021 are set to recognize the Cayman Islands seafaring heritage and the men and women that have contributed significantly to its development. Susan, I believe this year is one of many firsts. It's the first, I believe, first national event held since COVID-19.
Right.
And in Cayman Brac yesterday, on Saturday, I believe is the first time that they've actually held the National Heroes Day celebrations in the Sister Islands, or on the Sister Islands. We also get the exciting opportunity to see members of Parliament, that they've now been established as members of Parliament. So they've made the transition, as Emily is now, to members of Parliament. That should be amazing to see. And also this year is very special and unique because instead of one, we're actually having 3 events, one being held already yesterday. And if you have not been able to see that full ceremony, you can also watch it again on CIGTV for that rebroadcast. But for now, we're at Pedro St. James waiting for the ceremony to begin here. And of course, we're all respecting the existing COVID-19 restrictions and protocols. So we are limited in our numbers. So don't think we're making exceptions. We are really sticking really closely with the protocols. And it's really amazing to see the organizers really put this together, accommodating the existing COVID-19 protocols. And just a quick reminder to each and every one of you, please, unfortunately, if you don't have an invitation for the event, we're really encouraging you to tune in to the live broadcasts, both on Radio Cayman 89.9 FM and on CIGTV. And I believe CIGTV is available to viewers on YouTube and on Facebook and via cable from Logic Channel 20, Flow Channel 106, and C3 Channel 3.
Correct.
Susan, this is very significant this year because we are putting in the spotlight the seafarers and the seafaring heritage. And what more is significant about it is that we are honoring both those that have passed and those that are still here with us.
Yes, and there's going to be 6 categories, I believe, that the awardees will be recognized in, and they are early pioneers, and that's for an individual alive or deceased who made an exceptional contribution prior to 1940s and the areas of shipbuilding, boat building, shipping administration, boat building, shipping, I mentioned that, turtling or seafaring. And there's going to be a commemorative insignia and certificate that will be awarded. And also some of the other categories include Women in Seafaring, Memorial Scroll, Pioneers, Friends of Seafarers, and those who excelled at sea. And each early pioneer and Women in Seafarer and Excel at Sea will be receiving, as we mentioned, a commemorative insignia, and that depicts the 2021 insignia incorporates the significant features to represent the seafaring heritage of the Cayman Islands. It includes the wild banana orchid, which is the national flower of the Cayman Islands, the turtle, the catboat, and anchor down the center of the pen are significant symbols of the Cayman Islands seafaring heritage. And the circular helm on the left side is not only for the excellent vessels or seafarers built, commanded, and sailed on, but also the ongoing connection between our seafaring traditions of the past and the modern Cayman of today. And the compass, which is a symbol, is to honor and learn from the past while looking to the future and focusing on everything it has to offer. And the commemorative insignia is surrounded by an outer ring of thatch rope from here national tree, the silver thatch palm, and from the 1800s, Shanda, I believe, until the 1960s, the thatch rope making industry provided a major source of income for the Cayman Islands, reaching in height in 1964 with 1.3 million fathoms of rope which were exported, and the thatch rope was shipped to ports around the world in the cargo hold of Caymanian-made vessels, and was an important and prized item in seafaring, as it did not rot in the seawater or the salt water and could be traded for other of Caymanian-made vessels, other essentials, and the rope is strong and resilient, just like our seafarers.
That is so awesome. Susan, once again, to everyone, this is a time when the country will reflect upon our proud past and embrace the future as a united people. I don't know about you, Susan, but each and every year, there is that sense of national pride that I get just from these celebrations. Just announce more that I get. And, you know, the 2021 celebration is of no exception. We are looking at the seafaring heritage and recognizing our national heroes.
Yesterday's ceremony in Cayman, my late father was honored for Captain Wellington Watson for excelled at sea. That was wonderful to see my brother go up and accept that certificate and the commemorative insignia. So
such an honor, Susan, and I know
felt very
us speaking with each other,
right.
the many stories that you can come up with of your time and days spent with your father, and the stories that you would hear with him out in sea. It's an echo that I hear all the time, and especially during this time as we are putting the spotlight on our seafarers. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the ceremony has officially started with Masters of Ceremonies, Samuel Rose, Captain Secretary.
In the Cayman Islands for this very special Heroes Day ceremony focusing on our eastern districts. My name is Samuel Rose. My job is the Cabinet Secretary, but I am also the proud son of a Caymanian seaman, and it is my pleasure to be your Master of Ceremonies for today's proceedings. This year, we are focusing and honoring our seafarers. On this National Heroes Day, we will celebrate all things Cayman through song, historical artifacts, and the men and women whose contributions have been pivotal to the development of these islands and the betterment of our people. For those of you who were fortunate enough yesterday to actually be in Cayman Brac or to tune into the Cayman Brac celebrations, we made history for the first time taking the Heroes Day ceremony and festivities over to the sister islands. And they put on an absolutely fantastic show. Let's put our hands together for our brothers and sisters and recipients from Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. They know how to put on a show. Are you all enjoying the warm weather this afternoon? We ordered some Christmas breeze, but it hasn't arrived yet, so. But thank you for bearing with us, and we're so glad to have each and every one of you here for this special afternoon. We have lots of wonderful things in store for you, so we're looking forward to getting our event kicked off. We will begin with the arrival of the platform party, and as soon as I'm given the signal, we will start to announce their arrival. However, just to let you know, we have lots of support around. So just raise your hand and one of the ushers will see you and bring you some water to ensure that you stay refreshed and good.
With the Master of Ceremonies, Mr. Samuel Rose.
Just as an FYI this afternoon, we will also have a number of recipients from the sister islands whose families were unable to get across there. Happily agreed to have them receive their awards here in Grand Cayman at Pedro St. James this afternoon.
So, ladies and gentlemen, parades will take place at all events in both islands, and also for those who are not able to make it to the actual event and ceremony, there is specially curated exhibits providing historical insights.
We have adjusted our normal parade contingents because of the limitations in gatherings, and so we've split them up this year. So this year, and here at today's ceremony, we are pleased to have a detachment from Cayman Islands Fire Service, a detachment from Her Majesty's Prison, as well as a detachment from the Cayman Islands Cadet Corps and the Cayman Islands Conference Pathfinders organizations.
Yes, as I've mentioned, there are some historical insights to be gained with the curated exhibits on both Grand Cayman and Cayman Brac. There will be no post-event entertainment this year, both at Heroes Fair and at Pedro St. James. So that's just a quick note that we want to mention, Susan, because we do know everybody loves to head on over after the event to get that cassava cake and that turtle meat. But unfortunately, this time around, is not happening this year. So it's pretty exciting to know that there are some special treats in store for those that are not able to attend. So please, and I believe the exhibit on Grand Cayman is being held at the Seafarers Hall on Prospect. So you can check that out. That will be available for residents throughout the month, at least for 1 month, I believe, here on Grand Cayman.
The Cayman Islands government has designated 2021 as a year of celebrating our seafaring heritage with a year-long calendar of initiatives focused on discovering the Cayman Islands seafaring heritage. There will be lots of activities planned this year, so stay tuned to and visit celebratecayman.ky to learn more about upcoming celebrations, including District Day events across the islands to recognize all Caymanian seafarers at the community level. As you can imagine, given the numbers of seafarers that we have in Cayman, it's impossible, an absolutely impossible task to honor everyone at a single event. We would need to be there for perhaps 3 or 4 days straight, because we're talking about thousands of Caymanian seafarers over the time. So we will be planning District Day events throughout the year, as well as many other special commemorations to teach the history and to bring it to life in a new way, and to a new generation who, sadly, may not know as much as they should about our rich and proud seafaring heritage.
As we're waiting on the official arrivals, we just want to remind you again to our listeners, 2021 National Heroes Day recognizes the outstanding contributions made by our seafarers and highlighting the inspiring stories.
Please also remember to visit the Seafarers Hall, where a commemorative seafaring display has been assembled by the Cayman Islands Seafarers Association and the Bordentown Heritage Committee. The display will be available for viewing from tomorrow, the 26th of January. I also believe that you're fortunate enough to travel to Cayman Brac, that there is a display in their Seafarers Association Hall as well. Today our celebration is being aired live on CIG TV. Of course, there are channels on Logic, Flow, and the C3 networks. Of course, we're streaming live on CIG TV's YouTube channel and broadcast on Radio Cayman's 89.9 FM.
And as we wait the official opening of the Eastern District for the 2021 National Heroes Day celebration, just to let you know when the Kate Shanda, when the men would go off to sea, the women were left behind to be the banker, raise the children. In some instances,
This afternoon, as very special guests, our recruitment class for the Cayman Islands, our inaugural recruitment class for the Cayman Islands Coast Guard, who are seated here smartly dressed in their uniforms. I also wish to acknowledge the presence of the commander, Mr. Robert Scotland, and the deputy commander, Mr. Leo Anglin, as well as the trainers and staff. Welcome this afternoon. We hope that this will be a strong reminder of the rich and proud seafaring heritage which runs through your veins.
Rich seafaring heritage definitely runs through our veins. As you were mentioning, Susan.
the women were left behind to raise the children. In some instances, be a mother and a father to their children, and wait till her husband, father, boyfriend, or whatever, to come back home. And back then, the Caymanian seamen sent their allotments home, where the women would see to it that when they return, a home was built, or at least the home, they had it up to the belting, so to speak. And when we speak of our seafarers, the Cayman Islands saving banks come to mind, and you will never forget the significant role they played to the Cayman's economy and nation building. I believe Barclays Bank was established after that for many years. Yeah.
As you see a small drone flying overhead, that is part of the arrangement. That is no one spying on you. We wish to assure you, we are actually taking photographs of the grounds today and the events from above. We've never had that perspective before, and technology allows us to do so. So please do not be alarmed in any way, shape, or form should you see the drone flying over.
Yeah, we're moving with the times, so to speak. And as mentioned, I would say the Cayman's major export was its mariners, and as late as the 1950s, the government's annual report stated that the seamen's remittances were the mainstay of the economy. And most of the Cayman sailors worked for the national bulk carriers. I understand that some young boys joined the Sea Scout camps in Cayman to sort of become familiar with life at sea. And they were trained as though they were on board a ship. And can you imagine leaving Cayman or the Cayman Islands at age 17 years and going to a foreign land?
Wow.
Sea life, it was hard, but it was worth it. I'm reminded of a quote by Captain Edward Watson, which was discovered, I believe, in the Cayman Islands National Archives, that said, "Salt water in beans." And Cayman seafarers are definitely iron men on wooden ships, and they have attributes such as resilient, hardworking, dependable, determined, and also they have a great sense of humor, and they love to tell a good story. Trust me.
Susan, I definitely believe that. I think it was Minister for Culture, Honorable Dwayne Seymour, that said seafaring is not a life for the faint-hearted.
True.
Of our history, Minister Seymour mentioned that seafaring provided Caymanians with a way to make a living, and in doing so also helped to advance and grow our small country. We have so much to be grateful for.
and gentlemen, I am pleased to announce the arrival of the official platform party. Mrs. Nellie Pucci, Acting Chief Officer, Ministry of Health, Environment, Culture, and Housing. Mr. Christopher Saunders, representing the Electoral District of Bordentown West. Mr. Ezra Miller, representing the Electoral District of Northside. Mr. Anthony Eden, representing the Electoral District of Savannah. Mr. Alva Saku, Deputy Leader of the Opposition, representing the Electoral District of Newlands. The Leader of the Opposition, the Honorable Arden McLean, representing the Electoral District of East End. Attorney General, the Honorable Samuel Bulgin. Honorable Acting Deputy Governor, Mr. Eric Bush. Minister for Finance and Economic Development, Honorable Roy McTaggart, representing the Electoral District of Georgetown East. Minister for Health, Environment, Culture, and Housing, the Honorable Dwayne Seymour, representing the Electoral District of Bordentown East. And Parliamentary Secretary for Employment, Border Control, and Community Affairs, Mr. Austin Harris, representing the Electoral District of Prospect. Welcome. His Excellency the Governor and the Premier, the Honorable Alden McLaughlin, will be arriving shortly to take their salutes.
Susan, I believe that we're actually on time. We're working
And
with
before we
time.
formally commence, just a few minor matters of housekeeping. Just a friendly reminder that this is the opportune time to turn your phones on silent or vibrate.
And we're waiting the official arrivals.
Once the parade is assembled, it is now refrain from crossing the grounds. I want to take this opportunity to once again welcome those who are viewing via CIGTV's channel on Logic, Flow, or C3, or streaming live via YouTube, or those listening on Radio Cayman 89.9 FM.
Susan, I believe for this year's National Heroes Day celebration, the nomination period was open on October, but then they extended it to November.
Right.
And they received, I think, over 200 applications for this year's National Heroes Day celebrations, which means that there's so many people that would need to be recognized and honored. And as Cabinet Secretary mentioned, can't all recognize them at once.
Right.
Thank you. You may be seated.
So at this time, we are seeing the official arrivals.
All rise for the arrival of our Premier, the Honorable Alden McLaughlin.
And we're waiting the official arrival of the Premier, the Honorable Alden McLaughlin. And then that will be followed by His Excellency the Governor, Mr. Martin Roper. National Heroes Day celebrations here and for the district, Eastern District, taking place in Savannah at Pedro St. James. And now we can see the arrival of the Premier, the Honourable Alden McLaughlin.
And just a quick reminder that we're doing all of this all over again tomorrow for the Georgetown official at Hero Square, Georgetown, tomorrow at 9 a.m.
General salute! Breathe and up! Right! Order! Up! Order! Up!
And we see the Honorable Alden McLaughlin, Premier the Honorable Alden McLaughlin, being escorted to the platform.
And eat! And eat it!
It's such a beautiful afternoon here in Savannah at Pedro St. James. And we see the Premier making his way to the platform, being greeted by the other dignitaries on the platform.
Standing for the arrival of His Excellency the Governor, Mr. Martin Roper and Mrs. Roper.
And thank you for watching on the CIG YouTube channel, on Facebook page, also on Radio Cayman listening by way of the radio, 89.9 and 93.9.
Shoulder! Up!
And now we can see the arrival of His Excellency the Governor, Mr. Martin Roper.
You may not have heard, but as he's making his way towards the parade, he just passed a little joke, trying to understand, like, it's kind of weird that he's not wearing a suit. He's a little bit more dressed casual this time, but still representing, I believe, with the Cayman Islands Seafarers t-shirt, the official shirt and attire for this year's celebrations.
And I believe His Excellency will inspect the various contingents who are standing.
His Excellency the Governor, Mr. Martin Roper.
Maybe he won't. He'll be escorted to the platform.
As His Excellency the Governor now makes his way to the stage, he will present the proclamation to the Deputy Speaker of the House of Parliament, the Honourable Barbara Connolly. There will be the blowing of the conch shell, symbolizing welcome news. And the Honourable Deputy Speaker will then issue the proclamation to formally open National Heroes Day at Pedro St. James. Please remain standing.
He is just going, inspecting a little the Cayman Islands Fire Service, Her Majesty Prison Service, having a walk around until he joins the others at the platform.
I did think it was interesting that when he was walking in, like I mentioned earlier, he was basically saying it is weird that he's not dressed in his official formal suit, but rather a more casual, light fare of an attire. Also, but it is representing the seafarers. It is a polo shirt, light blue polo shirt, and it has, of course, a seafaring heritage logo and design, which you'll see many of the platform participants actually wearing polo shirts and a little more dressed down, as they're representing more of the seafaring heritage and the association shirts and attire. format to previous years, although they are respecting existing COVID-19 protocols and also ensuring that, it's still scaled down, but still having that full ceremony and that feel.
What's happening right now, His Excellency is still inspecting and just having a quick chat and a smile with some of the parade contingents, the various detachments. So they're all Cayman Islands Police Band, they're all Cayman Islands Police Service, detachment of the Cayman Islands Regiment, I believe, is also here, or will be participating in the Heroes Day celebrations. Cayman Islands Fire Service is here. I believe up next.
Ryan, salute! Freeze and up! Shoulder! Up! Order! Up!
Was the royal salute there, and His Excellency Governor Martin Rook will now make his way to the platform. And I believe what's coming up now is the conch shell blowing by Mr. Deal and Miss Ariane Ebanks.
And is it?
Mr. Deal Ebanks is the man behind the conch horn.
Conch shell.
Conch shell.
Conch shell, yes.
The official polo shirts of the Cayman Islands Seafarers Association.
And His Excellency the Governor, Mr. Martin
The mayor is
Rook,
bearing
now
his
on
chest to
the
show you that
platform.
he is also wearing his, as am I.
And the proclamation is being delivered to His Excellency, and he hands it over to the Honourable Deputy Speaker, the Honourable Barbara Connolly.
At this time, the Honourable Deputy Speaker, the Honourable Barbara Connolly, will read the proclamation.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye all citizens, residents, and visitors to these Cayman Islands. Whereas on the 27th day of January 2003, in the year of our quincentennial celebrations, we met at the plot in downtown Georgetown, Grand Cayman, which was proclaimed as Heroes Square, a sacred place of honor and esteem, dedicated to the endeavors, sacrifices, contributions, and achievements of the Caymanian people. And whereas the Wall of Honor and the statue and monument and cultural icons within that hallowed square all stand in remembrance of and in tribute to those who helped to build these beloved Cayman Islands. Now therefore, we the government and people of the Cayman Islands give notice once again of our determination today and on National Heroes Day in every year hereafter to acknowledge with gratitude and pride the endeavors of our people, to pay tribute and respect to their sacrifices in a way that will forever be impressed upon our hearts and our country as we continue to uphold our values and steadfast dedication to the outstanding individuals who made exceptional contributions to our seafaring heritage, commemorate those who paved our paths of yesterday, celebrate those who are still serving our community today, and highlight the industry that is firmly embedded in the history and culture of the Cayman Islands. And in furtherance thereof, we hereby give notice on this day, the 24th of January 2021, and every occasion of the celebration of National Heroes Day hereafter, that recognition by way of commendation and award and honors may be conferred on not only honored but ordinary citizens as shall be deemed deserving thereof. Proclaimed in the presence of all gathered here for this purpose at Pedro St. James in Savannah, Grand Cayman, this 24th day of January in the year of our Lord, 2021, in the 69th year of the reign of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II.
Honorable Speaker, reading and officially opening National Heroes Day 2021.
Yeah, Honorable Deputy Speaker, Ms. Barbara Connolly just read the proclamation, and I think what's coming up next is going to be the conch shell blowing. Conch shell blowing there by Mr. Deal and Ms. Ariane Ebanks.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker, Mr. Deal Ebanks and Ms. Ariane Ebanks. The blowing of the conch shell is a Cayman Islands tradition dating back to when our society was almost exclusively fed by what we caught at sea and grew in our grounds. The pink queen conch was the shell of choice for this nautical instrument. The sound evoked a sense of relief for many families, as it meant that those who had gone fishing had returned safely to shore. Conch shell blowing was done primarily by men, but as you've seen today, some local women were very proficient in the art as well. We will now have the entrance of the Seafarers, who will be marching behind the Cayman Islands red ensign flag, which is primarily used while at sea. Please remain standing.
Let me tell you, Shanda, and to everybody watching and listening, in the background you'll hear the recorded sea captain and the arrival of the seafarers.
A very unique feature for this year's National Heroes Day celebrations. In fact, the seafarers themselves said they wanted to do this. It represents not just them, but those that have gone before us.
Yes.
We have the association president holding the Cayman Islands flag in front of the parade, in front of the seafarers.
That's the marine flag held there by the president of, I think, the Cayman Islands Veterans Receiving, is it the Seafarers Association, Mr. Denison Tibbet.
When he tells his stories of the high seas and exotic ports, I'm like a little kid listening to a fairy tale. Oh, he exaggerates a bit, but so what? As the old captain says, a story with no lies is extremely dull. I brought a bottle of whiskey. That always creates a gossip among his neighbors. Well, the captain has words for his neighbors that I wouldn't dare repeat. I walked to the back porch where the old man usually lies in his canvas hammock. Here he could listen to the waves break against the shore. When the old man wasn't there, I knew something was wrong. When I entered his home, I somehow felt as if I were invading his past. Hung on his living room wall was a collection of medals and old photos of majestic sailing vessels. There were also letters of commendation. I read a few lines. So he didn't make all his stories up. I walked past an open closet and there hung his moth-eaten uniform. I bet he was a real ladies' man in his younger days. Then I saw what I'd expected. Though most of his face was covered by a graying beard, a peaceful smile was quite obvious. Beside his bed a kerosene lamp flickered, and in his calloused hands he held an old ship's log. The pages were covered with dust. Then I noticed his last entry had been scribbled down just yesterday. Hello, my friend. I knew you'd find me. No one else has visited for some time. Open that bottle up and have a drink on the old captain. I'd like to ask one small favor. Make sure I'm buried at sea. You can sell my medals to cover the expense. The ship's log you're holding, that's yours. It's full of great stories. I wish I could leave you more, but that's all I've got. And please, shed no tears for me. I'm off now to raise an anchor and sail again. I opened the curtains to let in a bit of sunlight and stared out at the endless sea. Maybe it was my imagination, but way off in foggy horizon, I saw an old three-masted schooner in full sail and someone at the helm waving at me. I rubbed my moistened eyes and looked again. I guess it was my imagination. The schooner was gone. Somewhere there's a heaven for all men of the sea, a place where they can take the helm and sail eternity. Somewhere a ship awaits him, and it will bear his name, and he can ride the endless waves and steer his course again.
And that was a beautiful song, well written by the Barefoot Man and sung by Andy Martin.
Today we ring the bell 8 times. This is done internationally on board vessels to signify the commencement of the watch. And throughout this afternoon's ceremony and throughout tomorrow's ceremony, the seafarers will be symbolically on watch for the entirety of the ceremony.
The ringing of the bell there by Mr. John Douglas.
I now invite you to remain standing at attention for the breaking of the Union flag and Cayman flag, followed by the national anthem, God Save the Queen, sung by Miss Erica Asai. Miss Asai is a part of the 1st Cayman Islands Coast Guard recruitment class.
Hooray! Hooray! Ship! Soldier! Up! Roll salute! Reset! Up!
We have singer-songwriter, recording artist Erica Asai singing the national anthem.
God save our gracious Queen, long live our noble Queen. God save the Queen. Send her victorious, happy and glorious, long to reign over us
this aside, please remain standing as I invite Pastor Kyle McLean to offer a word of prayer on behalf of our beloved Cayman Islands.
Right. London.
Good afternoon. Let us pray. Eternal Father, God of all grace and mercy, we come before you today thanking you for your faithfulness, thanking you for your divine mercies and blessings beyond measure. Lord, we praise you for your grace that has been shown to us in sending your Son, Jesus Christ, to die for our sins. In his death and glorious resurrection, we find our hope and our salvation. As we see the devastating effects of COVID-19 around us, thank you for bestowing wisdom upon our government leaders that allows us to gather like this. Lord, we pray that you will continue to protect our islands, and we pray for countries around the world where these gatherings are restricted due to the pandemic. We thank you, Lord, that we are free to praise and glorify the holy name of Jesus in these islands. Lord, your word tells us that no one whose hope is in you will ever be put to shame. Lord, we thank you for the opportunity to celebrate our seafarers during this Heroes Day celebration and all throughout this year. We thank you for the rich seafaring heritage that we have here in these islands. Please continue to bless the Seafarers Association in their efforts to preserve this rich heritage and their ongoing support to active and retired seafarers. Heavenly Father, so many left this beloved isle, leaving the familiar and voyaging into the unknown, leaving to sail the high seas, to fight wars, or in search of a better life, and indeed, to provide a better life for the family they left behind. We thank you for being their refuge and strength in times of trouble. Lord, we thank you for your care and protection from the perils and dangers of the sea. Lord, thank you that in the storms they face, you were the peace and calm within their hearts. Lord, we enjoy the freedom and prosperity here in these islands that has been afforded to us by these brave seafarers. And we are thankful to those seafarers who gave their lives in this effort, but were never able to reap the rewards. Lord, we thank you for giving them the knowledge, ingenuity, strength, and perseverance to carry out their duties faithfully and tirelessly at sea. We thank you that inscribed on our coat of arms is your holy word. May our country forever be rooted in your word, and may you always be our beacon, guiding us into safe harbor. Lord, we ask your divine blessings upon this celebration today. May all that is said and done here today be to your glory. We thank you, Lord, for all that you have done, all that you are doing, and all that you are going to do in these beloved islands. In Jesus' holy and precious name we pray. Amen.
Full prayer delivered by Pastor Kyle McLean.
Thank you, Pastor McLean. For the last time, we ask that you remain standing as the parade marches off.
Right. Right. Good. Left, hard up. March. Right. Turn to the right. Come on. Right. Up. Right. Turn to the right and five. Right. Good.
And what's happening right now, the parade is in position to march off. You're listening to live coverage of the National Heroes Day celebrations for the Eastern Districts, live from Pedro, St. James. And now we see the Cayman Islands Fire Service. The Cayman Islands Fire Service. Before that was Her Majesty Prison Service. And as the parade marches off, I think up next will be a remarks
by Minister for Culture, Honorable Dwayne Seymour. That's Minister for Health, Environment, Culture and Housing, Honorable Dwayne
Seymour. Beautiful sight to see. The crowd is loving it as well, as they're all are standing and watching the parade march off.
Yes. Once again, you are here live. We're giving you live and full coverage here at Pedro St. James, Savannah, for the 2021 National Heroes Day celebrations. In case you're just tuning in, I'm Shanda Gallego, joined by Radio Cayman's very own Susan Watson. Very, very pleased to bring you the live coverage.
Also, if you're watching on CIG YouTube channel and Facebook page, welcome, welcome. And as we mentioned, next up, and I love the Cayman shirts.
Cayman Islands shirts.
Cayman Islands, yes.
Fire Service, a detachment of Her Majesty's Prison Service, a detachment of the Cadet Corps, and a detachment of the Cayman Islands Conference Pathfinders.
Master of Ceremonies, Cabinet Secretary, Mr. Samuel Rose.
That was a very long standing for the attendees.
But they were very obedient.
They were, and it was actually enjoyable for them to stand and have the parade, just show off.
Right.
I should say. Lots of blue, red, and white colors of national pride in the Cayman Islands here today.
We're honoring our seafarers, and rightly so.
I now invite Honorable Dwayne Seymour, Minister for Health, Environment, Culture and Housing, to deliver the opening remarks. Minister Seymour.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to the celebration of a magnificent seafarers hailing from the serene eastern districts. Give them a round of applause, please. The historical Pedro Castle, or some may say Pedro Castle, is the perfect setting to celebrate those who have helped carve our history, the story of who we are. As a fellow Bodentowner, I am humbled to open this day for you. The Eastern Districts can still offer us a slice of the way things were, a throwback to a different time, a time when seafarers were the backbone of this country. It is here we should remember that these seafarers made this invaluable contribution, without which we would not have the Cayman Islands as we know them today. Seafarers of the Eastern Districts have been immortalized in the historical rescue of the wreck of the 10 Sails And today, you make sure you go down in history again. It has been my privilege to serve as the Minister of Culture over the past 3.5 years, but I am especially humble to be Culture Minister right now as we recognize and honor these Heroes Day, or seafarers. But those still with us and those who have gone before, we thank God that as the pandemic still rages all around us, we have been blessed to safely come together to celebrate your acts of valor and heroism in one or more of the many aspects of seafaring. As Caymanians, we had to depend on the sea as a necessity, so our history and culture are firmly tethered to the sea. I still can imagine a time when those waters were filled with gorgeous, locally built sailing vessels coming and going. This artsman's skill of building schooners, catboats, and other vessels were also applied to our architecture, which can still be seen in some buildings until this day. For a long period of our history, seafaring provided Caymanians with a way to make a living, and in so doing, also helped us to advance and grow our small country. By venturing out to other lands, whether throughout the Caribbean, South and Central America, the US, or to countries on the other side of the globe, our seafarers also expanded their own horizons. Many of you started careers as ordinary seamen, and by the time you retired, you were master mariners who captained large ships, engineers, bosuns, and yes, in many ways, that most important all position, chief cook. Your journeys must go down in history. For the rest of us, we can appreciate that seafaring is not a life for the faint at heart. For all that the sea provides, a life at sea also poses infinite dangers. Yes, despite these dangers, all of you kept your sights on the opportunities that life at sea provided for your families and for the love of country. It is this courage, sacrifice, and hard work that has helped build our country and the lives we enjoy today. It takes brave men and women like you to take up such a noble and often dangerous calling. We Caymanians are so proud, so very proud of our seafaring heritage, as we should be. There are so many great qualities born out of seafaring, struggles, and achievements. Our men went out to the brave, the unknown seas, navigating around the world, and our women served as the first fibers of the household, keeping strong Christian values close, thatched rope, and doing what it took to survive, praying daily for the safe return of their husbands, brothers, and sons. Caymanians have used this to build resilience, perseverance, and an aptitude for hard work and a collective Caymankind spirit. Look how far we have come. Seafarers have emboldened us and given us the foundation that has helped develop our Cayman today in the Caribbean International Maritime Center. I must pause and note what I remember growing up when I saw the seamen when they came home. Something had changed about them. And I don't know if you all remember what was called the quicksilver. I was so interested in trying to get some of this quicksilver in my arm, but I couldn't find out how they got it into their arm. I was told that if a person who had put quicksilver in their arm punched you, they would knock you till next year. I never did see it happen. Do you also remember the first time we saw tattoos? It's the first time I saw tattoos, and that was on our seamen. Most of the time it was tattoos of Christian value that they got put on them. And also, they brought home a little language. And some of you hear me talk about it at times, and some people don't even know what it is. But they taught us gypsy. They say they brought it back, they got it when they went overseas. And it's a shame that more of us in the Cayman Islands didn't know gypsy, because we wouldn't have to whisper. No one else would know what we're saying. And I can tell you a little story that I heard the girls were the first one around the district in Gun Square, Comba Avenue, that was speaking this gypsy, and they were speaking it so fast you couldn't understand what they were saying. So I took my time and asked my sister for a couple letters at a time, because I didn't want her to know that I would catch on so fast. Well, I got all the alphabets, and I practiced and practiced and practiced. And by the time you knew it, I was understanding everything they were saying, and they didn't know. So, you know, the reason why people start talking gypsy is because they want to talk a secret about somebody next to them that they don't want to hear them. So, I started backing the news back to Mama on my sister. And boy, she pick up some beating. She still don't know it's me. But just to illustrate what gypsy is, because everybody's like, what in the world is gypsy? Gug square dad a faf tadiro a you dad I nan sasi that hase nan cock yawo you sasi a fafi a row e row sus wawi a square pop rowi kakai a tati yawo you. Good afternoon, audience. Thank you, Seaman. We appreciate you. Oh, you see what I'm talking about? Lastly, I want to thank all the teams who have come together and worked so hard to ensure we can celebrate you all safely and the way you deserve to be. Because of the importance of seafaring, I am also looking forward to the year-long celebrations, which will give us an opportunity to come to each district where we will have more special events and activities honoring more seafarers. I am so pleased that we are able to do this for each of you. Our heritage is written by seafarers, and though we aim to celebrate them throughout this year, let's not forget we ought to be doing it every day. I always say that my heroes are the women, because they were left behind and they collected the funds that were sent, built the homes, schooled the kids, and went about doing business, and Castro didn't come in and take over. For those of you watching on CIG TV or online, thank you for your continued support of our National Heroes Day. I thank you, and God bless.
Beautiful remarks done by Honorable Dwayne Seymour.
Thank you, Minister Seymour. You added another language. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I now invite the Premier of the Cayman Islands, the Honorable Alden McLaughlin, to deliver the keynote address. Premier McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mr. Master of Ceremonies. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, my colleagues in the Cabinet and the Legislative Assembly, boys and girls, and especially our important guests, seafarers. I thank you all for joining us in Pedro, I can use the Cayman expression, this afternoon as we celebrate our national heroes and honor our seafaring heritage. Yesterday afternoon, we had the honor and privilege of having a similar ceremony in Cayman Brac at the Aston Ruddy Center. And a number of the seafarers, in particular those from the Seafarers Association of Grand Cayman were there. I see them all here again this afternoon. Yesterday afternoon was a most moving occasion, and I trust that this afternoon will be equally as moving. There was a time when every Caymanian male was expected to go to sea. Going to sea was a way of life. It was also a rite of passage for young men who more often than not started their careers in their mid-teens. I grew up in an era when it was felt that going to sea would make even the poorest boy a good man. Being called to join a ship was a time for leaving boyhood behind and starting the journey to becoming accepted as an adult, making an honest living, and importantly, helping provide for your family. Equally important, it was also an opportunity to make something meaningful of your life. And so, from time immemorial, Caymanians from all three islands looked to the sea for a livelihood and sustenance, as well as for enjoyment. Indeed, we have a rich seafaring heritage of which every Caymanian today is still justly proud. Caymanians were renowned seafarers, but also excellent builders of schooners and boats that were incredible sailing vessels. The Goldfield, built in 1930, instantly comes to mind for many Caymanians. There was a time when Caymanian boats with Caymanian captains and crew plied the waters, fished, ranged for turtles, and carried goods and people to and from our islands, and sailed across the Western Caribbean to Jamaica, Cuba, Central and South America, and the Southern United States. Some have surmised that it was our relative isolation when we were considered the island's time forgot that drove the need for our forebears to become such excellent shipwrights and sailors. Whatever the reason, undoubtedly this seafaring heritage is intrinsically linked to our Caymanian pioneering spirit. In my view, the epitome of that pioneering spirit is our beloved Caymanian catboat, a sculpture of which is placed in Hero Square. As we all know, or I should say as many may know, our distinctive Caymanian catboat was designed and built in 1904 by Captain Daniel Jervis on Cayman Brac. But in no time at all, the design was copied and in use throughout all three islands. So excellent was the maneuverability of the humble catboat that it became the vessel of choice for Caymanians during the first half of the 20th century. I remember Jerris Miller, who I see here this afternoon, saying once in my presence that it was the pickup truck of that era. It was used not just for turtling or fishing, but also for the transport of goods and people. I commend Kem Jackson, Jerris Miller, and all members of the Catboat Club for their work in keeping our Caymanian catboat tradition alive. After the end of World War II, however, fewer Caymanian ships and boats were being built, and our seamen took to working on board foreign ships. In the late 40s, the 50s, 60s, and early 70s, hundreds of Caymanian men left home for better pay on merchant ships, particularly the large bulk carriers and tankers owned by national bulk carriers. The increased income earned on these vessels not only supported the needs of families at home, but also greatly improved their lives, and in so doing, boosted the development of all three Cayman Islands. In addition to the early development of the economy of these islands, the seamen also passed down their knowledge and helped grow the seafaring industry. Seafarers, like fishermen, all love a good story. I fondly remember the many seafaring stories I have heard or read. My father sailed for 10 years. His first voyage, he was gone 3 years. And so I grew up in that environment of hearing the stories. You often never quite knew whether they were true or not, but they were always entertaining. One story, as told to the Cayman Compass by Andrew Eden, who's here this afternoon, noted that he joined his first crude oil tanker, the Dia Maris, with National Bulk at the age of 17 as a messman. But he quickly worked his way up the ladder, making chief engineer at age 25. He recalls a scare on his first trip to sea, when just after 6 in the morning, the fire alarm screamed and the hall was full of smoke. An oil line in the engine room had burst and caught fire. Andrew said in his interview to the company, I had one guy from Cayman who was an oiler at the time, and he, and only he, down there to eventually get the fire out, whilst others ran as fast as they could from the engine room, including the third engineer. Luckily, the Caymanian oilers stayed down there and really saved us. And in Northside, people may recall John Jackie Miller, a pastor, farmer, and who is also a pastor and farmer, and who is also considered one of our most proficient shipwrights of his day. He, along with his son Wilbanks, had a shipyard near the private Miller Cemetery. They not only built 17 schooners, but they also rigged and sailed them. Keeping with the Northside Miller family, Captain Ned Miller, of blessed memory, joined the SS Bulk Trader in January 1954. In his notes, which he submitted to the crafters of the book, The Southwell Years, Captain Ned wrote that his first ship took him between Pennsylvania and the Persian Gulf, and it was the extreme cold in the winters and the searing heat in the summers that convinced him to rise in the ranks as quickly as he could to get off deck. And so he studied and applied himself. It was on his second ship sailing from Japan via the Panama Canal to the Bahamas that his desire came true. Sporting a new pair of cowboy boots and making a racket while walking on deck, Captain Ned was summoned by the captain to the bridge. Of course, I hastened to get to the bridge, not expecting to hear what I heard. His notes read, the captain said, Mr. Miller, you walk on this ship as if you own it. I said, I'm sorry, sir. I'll change the shoes. To which he replied, it's okay. I have something to say to you. I am promoting you to third officer. No one but me will ever know how I felt at that moment, Captain Ned confessed. This was the launching of my ambition to one day master my chosen profession. I believe that what Captain Ned said at the end of his writing summed up just about what every other seaman was thinking during the Southwell years. National Bulk Carriers was a real godsend to the Cayman Islands during the Southwell years, Captain Ned wrote. However, it must not be forgotten that the Caymanian seamen were also good for National Bulk. Cayman seamen needed National Bulk Carriers' jobs, while National Bulk Carriers needed Caymanian seamen to operate their ships. End of quote. And the family tradition of keeping our seafaring heritage survives with Captain Ned's grandson, Ned Jerris Miller III, who has honed his boat-building skills at the International Yacht Restoration School in Newport, Rhode Island, in the United States. He was the first recipient in 2011 of the Gwen Bush Memorial Scholarship, which was created to revive the boat trade. But not every story has a happy ending. Like all seafaring countries, we also know the heartbreak caused when a ship is lost at sea and her loved ones do not return. This brings me to the tragic story of William Smiley Connolly of East End. Smiley was married to Eunice, who, when he married her, was a widow, and she and her 2 children moved into Smiley's home in East End in 1877. Sadly, any expectation of a happy family life was dashed when the couple and the children embarked on a turtle fishing voyage to Mosquito Keys. The journey was disrupted by a powerful hurricane, and they all perished. These are more than mere stories. They tell of real lives and are a reminder of a time now long gone when our men and at times our women took to the sea to provide for their families. As hard and dangerous as going to sea could be, seafaring provided tremendous opportunities for Caymanians that were not available in these islands at the time. As part of our celebrations, we are looking to discover the names of all Caymanians who today still carry on our seafaring tradition. Two such that we are aware of are Captain Radley Scott, our last known captain who is still at sea, and Gentry Lee Tatum, who is sailing on articulated tug barges in the United States. Both of these gentlemen are Cayman Brackers. Though we no longer have hundreds of seafarers still active at sea, the Cayman Islands still plays an important role globally on the maritime stage with our Cayman Islands Shipping Registry, which provides flag state services to ship owners and their vessels. The registry was started in 1903, and from its records, we can learn a great deal about the history and tradition of the Cayman Islands seafaring and maritime past, including vessels built here. These include the early schooners such as the Explicit, built and owned by Joseph Taylor Rich of Cayman Brac in 1916, and the Armistice, built in 1918, and others that were involved with the turtle trade, one of our first real means of international commerce. Those boats, alongside the names of the Nunoka, Simboko, Lady Slater, the Arbutus, the Goldfield, and many, many others found in our shipping register, remind us not only of the incredible numbers of boats built in our islands, but also how significant they were to commerce, including the vital link for transporting people and freight. And they remind us also of our famed Caymanian boat builders, such as James Arch, Real Borden, Joseph Rich, Keith Tibbetts, John Miller, and many others. This weekend, they're all being honored and remembered. It is vital that we do remember and honor the history of our great ships and shipbuilders, as well as our brave seafarers. They're all an integral part of our proud history, a history that reminds us today how much we owe to that great generation of Caymanian men and women. The Cayman Islands Government Report for the years 1953 to 54 provide good insight into the number of Caymanian men at sea in the 1950s, when it noted, and I quote, "The business of the dependency nowadays is the export of seafaring men," unquote. Succinct, but true. So important was the economic activity created by our seafarers and the allotments they sent home that our first commercial bank, Barclays, started operations here. As our economy grew, and as tourism and the development sectors were beginning, our seafarers were able to use the skills learned aboard ship to get work at home or to start businesses, and so the need to go to sea for a living dwindled. Seafaring, that served as the backbone of the Cayman economy well into the 20th century, increasingly became unattractive as a way of life. It was a tough and dangerous job that left fathers separated from their families for many months and at times for years. And so our seafaring way of life gave way as opportunities at home increased. Now, nonetheless, the seafaring period of our history remains stitched into our very being as a people. We are reminded of it everywhere, even in our national symbols. Our coat of arms with 3 stars representing our 3 islands, resting on blue and white waves above the words from Psalms 24, "He hath founded it upon the seas," remind us of it. Our national song, "Beloved Isle Cayman," written by Mrs. Leela Ross Shire of blessed memory, speaks poignantly to being in far-off lands and longing for home. I am sure in many ways the words in that great song express how our seafarers must have felt on board ship, far from home and counting down the days until returning to our beloved islands, set in blue Caribbean Sea. Cayman Bracs, and indeed the Cayman Islands' own Andy Martin, also summed up these feelings in his popular song, "Letter from Sea." Many of us who are old enough will remember how popular that song was, and it was played, I am told, on jukeboxes right around the region and in the southern United States as homesick sailors longed for sea while drinking a good whiskey. I look forward to hearing, as I'm sure all of you do, from Andy shortly. I thank all of you for taking time out of your busy Saturday, Sunday. The days are rolling all into one. Of your busy Sunday to be with us here today to celebrate and remember and pay tribute to our seafaring men and women and to honor our seafaring heritage. I want to thank all those whose hard work has made these celebrations possible. Minister Seymour and Acting Chief Officer Nelly Pucci and the staff in the ministry responsible for culture, Cabinet Secretary Samuel Rose, the Protocol Office, the Celebrate Cayman Committee, the committee here on Cayman Brac, the committee in Cayman Brac, and the committee here in Grand Cayman, and all the many others who have given of their time and talents. I also thank all of the members who make up the Cayman Islands Seafarers Association in Grand Cayman, as well as the members of the Veterans and Seafarers Association of Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, for not only helping make this Heroes Weekend a success, but also for the work you do every day to keep our seafaring heritage alive and to provide assistance and camaraderie to our seafarers. I thank the members of both organizations for your service. As I said when I started, we began our celebrations yesterday in Cayman Brac, and we will continue tomorrow, where we will be in Hero Square, honoring our seafarers from Georgetown and West Bay. I will also have some exciting news to announce with regards to important plans as we seek to memorialize permanently the seafaring heritage of which these islands is so proud, and as we start a year-long celebration of that heritage. As we honor and celebrate the efforts and achievements of those who have gone before us, and those still with us contributing to the well-being of these islands, let us also acknowledge the blessings of the present and look to the promise of the future with excitement, expectation, and optimism. May God bless us all, and may He continue to bless these Cayman Islands that He hath founded upon the seas and established upon the floods.
Here by the Honorable Premier,
giving historical insights into the seafaring heritage.
Thank you, Honorable Premier. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, our seafarers had only one request for our celebrations, and that was to ensure that Andy Martin sang Letter from Sea at any celebration that we had. So Andy Martin is on tour this weekend, starting off in his hometown of Cayman Brac, and now he's in his new home of Savannah, accompanied by Barefoot Man and C&B Band. Ladies and gentlemen, Andy Martin.
Got no letters here today, though I'm 1,000 miles away. I'll be back, I've got 22 more days. Hello, sweetheart. Our ship just pulled into Philly with a load of oil from the Gulf, and the ship's agent brought the mail on board. You should have seen all the smiling faces of the messmen and the oilers. Even the first engineer got a letter from home this trip. But for me, it was the same old story. Just like the last two ports we've hit. Nothing. I know it's hard on you, we've been away for almost a whole year now. But that's the life of a seaman. I don't know if you've been counting the days, but I have. There's only 22 more days left, and I'll be home. You know, I walked this old tanker from bow to stern 1,000 times wondering what you might be doing on a night like this. I know it's hard on you being a seaman. Hell, it's like we're never home. Well, it's hard on me too. Every port we dock at, there are 1,000 girls waiting to keep her company. But they don't really care about us. All they care about is that roll of money in our pockets. Now, I'm not saying that I don't hit the bars. Sure I do. Everybody does. From the captain to the messman. The booze seems to help somehow. And those sad songs in the jukebox always remind me of home. The National Bulk Ships agent asked me if I'd sign up for another year after this trip. I told him no way. There's only 22 more days left, and I'll be home.
Don't choke up, Andy, don't choke up.
Please meet me at the airport, sweetheart, and bring the kids along with you. Oh, I can't wait to see them again. And if you have room in that old fort of ours, pick Mom up on the way, will you? I guess I'd better close this letter off now so I can get it to you. But there's only 22 more days left, and I'll be home. Got no letters here today, though I'm 1,000 miles away. I'll be back, I've got 22 more days. I'll be back, I've got 22 more days. Thank you.
Andy Martin, the Barefoot Man, and C&B. Beautifully
you,
done.
Andy. Another round of applause, please, for Mr. Andy Martin, Barefoot Man, and C&B for taking us back down memory lane. I now invite Mr. Denison Tibbetts, the President of the Cayman Islands Seafarers Association, to deliver remarks. Mr. Tibbetts.
Mr. Denison Tibbetts making his way to the podium.
Well, protocol haven't been established for those sitting on the platform here. Let me first say, my fellow seafarers, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, a very good afternoon to you all, and what a lovely day it has turned out to be. Welcome to the National Heroes Day of the Seafarer at Pedro Castle. I won't say Pedro like some people do. Firstly, I must take this opportunity to say thanks to the government of the day for acknowledging and declaring 2021 the year of the Seafarer. And it would be remiss of me if I didn't say a big thank you to the patron of our association, the Honorable Makiva Bush, who fought the government of the day in 1994 to enact legislation for health insurance coverage and the ex gratia payment that all our Seafarers Association members now receive and indeed rely on to live in some comfort. Today we celebrate all seafarers, past and present, and are grateful for their contributions to our nation. And we should never forget them. We must teach our young people the history of our nation so that they can take pride in the resilience and fortitude of these seafarers and strive to emulate them. As a nation, we have been celebrating National Heroes Day for quite a number of years now. Today we pay tribute, and as the Jamaicans would say, hail up all our seafarers, and celebrate the great sacrifice they have made towards the freedom and harmony all Caymanians and visitors alike now enjoy. Because of the COVID-19 restrictions, the government has had to split up our National Heroes Day celebration into three. As you heard yesterday, we were in Cayman Brac, honoring the seafarers from Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Today we are here at Pedro's Castle to honor those seafarers from East End, North Side, town, Savannah, Newlands. And of course, tomorrow morning we will be at National Heroes Square to honor those seafarers, past and present, from Georgetown and West Bay. As we celebrate our seafarers, both past and present, we must salute our country's frontline workers for the critical role they play as we unite to battle the COVID-19 pandemic. Today, on behalf of a grateful nation, we say thanks to them all. May I take this opportunity on behalf of the Cayman Islands Seafarers Association, and indeed the powers that be, in extending a warm Caymanian welcome to you all. And as the celebrations are completed this evening, may we all reflect and show gratitude to all seafarers, past and present, for a job well done. And may I also encourage all here today to forever be grateful for the resilience and fortitude of these great men and women who have left their footprints on the sands of time for us to follow. At the beginning of the program, after the seafarers came in, we sounded 8 bells. We did the same thing in the BRAC, and I've been overwhelmed with people asking, what does 8 bells signify? Well, all seafarers know that one stroke of the ship's bell signifies the start of the first half hour of the watch. Then an additional bell is struck for each half hour of the watch. Thus, 8 bells signifies the end of a 4-hour watch. 8 bells is also struck when a seafarer passes away, signifying the end of their final watch. Thus, my friends, is the significance of 8 bells. Now may I pray God's mercy and guidance on all of us, and may He continue to bless these beautiful Cayman Islands we all call home. Thank you.
Brief remarks there by the president of the Cayman Islands Seafarers Association, Mr. Denniston Tibbetts.
Thank you, Mr. Tibbetts. For decades, thousands of Caymanians depended on the sea for their livelihood. And through their heroic efforts in boat building, shipbuilding, shipping administration, turtling, and seafaring, these hardy and intrepid Caymanians built the foundation of our islands. Today, we will commemorate this event by the presentation of awards to the early pioneers, and those who excelled at sea. I invite the Premier, the Honorable Alden McLaughlin, to present these awards. I will also invite in turn currently elected members of Parliament from the Eastern Districts to join the Premier at designated periods as we make the presentations. As mentioned earlier, we will also have a few awards presented here today to Cayman BRAC and Little Cayman recipients whose families were unable to travel to Cayman BRAC yesterday for the ceremony there. You are welcome to applaud after each name is called and as awards are presented on stage. If you wish to take your own pictures, there's a designated area over to my right or to your left if you're sitting in the audience where you can take photographs. We will actually be beginning out of consideration for a number of recipients who are wheelchair bound with those awards. So we will not be following the order as cited in the program. So if I could ask our Honorable Premier and Minister Seymour to please make their way to the front of the stage. Down below, the wheelchair-bound recipients will be brought over. So if you can depart on this side here. Thank you. Go ahead, proceed.
By the way, there are 6 categories where
First
awardees.
recipient.
Okay, let's go to the podium.
The first recipient this afternoon in the early pioneer category will be Mr. Joseph Haldane Bodden.
They are recognizing the early pioneers, individuals alive or deceased who made an exceptional contribution prior to the 1940s in the areas of shipbuilding, boat building, shipping administration, turtling, and seafaring.
And Mr. Joseph Haldane Bodden is getting a certificate from the Culture Minister, the Honourable Tween Seymour. And standing close by is the Premier, the Honourable Alden McLaughlin. Little handshake. And he will be presenting the commemorative insignia. to Mr. Borden.
Susan, I believe there are 3 individuals.
The next recipient in the Excelled at Sea category is Mr. Harry Ebanks.
That we are at the Excelled at Sea category. The individual alive or deceased who during their seafaring career advanced in rank to the highest level of their profession or performed a lifetime, at least 40 years of service, regardless of final rank.
A round of applause there for Mr. Harry Ebanks.
In the Memorial Scroll category, Mr. Hugh Bush. Mr. Bush's wife, the late Mr. Bush's wife, will be receiving his award.
The memorial scroll is a deceased person who made the ultimate sacrifice and lost their life as a result of going to sea or serving as a seafarer.
And the certificate is being awarded on his behalf of the late Captain Hugh Charles Bush Sr., I believe. And I believe his wife is accepting the award.
Yes. And in this particular category, the individual will be recognized with a certificate.
We were scheduled to have the wife of Mr. Leroy Frederick receive his award. Yes. All right.
You're listening to live coverage of the National Heroes Day celebrations for the Eastern District
Mr. Leroy
and the birthplace
Frederick
of democracy.
received by his wife.
Once again, the individual alive or deceased who, during their seafaring career, advanced in rank to the highest level of their profession or performed a lifetime, at least 40 years of service, regardless of final rank. In a bold red, his wife receives the certificate and commemorative insignia. There is some laughter and a few words exchanged with Mr. Frederick's wife and Premier.
I will now ask the Premier and Honourable Minister to make their way back to the stage to continue our presentations. We will now go into the category of early pioneers. Each and every awardee being honoured today was nominated by you, their family member, employer, or friend. You were a part of their recognition today, and we applaud you, our Cayman Islands. As we begin with the early pioneers, an early pioneer is an individual who made an exceptional contribution prior to the 1940s in the areas of shipbuilding, boat building, shipping administration, turtling, or seafaring. Each honoree will receive a commemorative insignia and a certificate. In a few cases, the awardee's family member or representative will accept the award in their honor. In the early pioneer category for Borden Town, we continue now with Mr. Joseph Scoble Borden.
And we see a family member of Mr. Joseph Scoble Borden making his way to the platform to accept the award of the family member of Mr. Joseph Scoble Borden.
And just so you are clear. Each early pioneer women in seafaring and sailed at sea award recipient at National Heroes Day 2021 will be presented with a custom commemorative insignia designed to honor their outstanding contributions to the seafaring heritage of the Cayman Islands. And is
Mr.
actually
Livingston Edwin Bodden.
That is Mr. Livingston Edwin Bodden now making his way to the platform.
If you'd like,
to
we can have
receive
the Premier come down.
his
meet him.
award.
Would that is preferable, Premier? And Minister?
And the commemorative insignia is intended to be attached to the clothing and worn at special occasions. So that is also quite significant and really cool.
Right. And Mr. Livingston Edwin Bodden is being awarded the certificate and commemorative insignia by the Culture Minister, the Honourable Dwayne Seymour, and the Premier, the Honourable Alden McLaughlin. And they have a quick chat. Handshake from the Premier.
Premier and Minister Seymour actually met Mr. Bodden at the stairs, at the end of the stairs. And at some point you go to them, right?
But to tell you the truth, he looked like he really wanted to go on that stage.
Thank you.
He's fit, yes.
At this time, I call upon the MP for Northside, Mr. Ezra Miller, to join the Premier for the presentation of Early Pioneer Awards to the Northside recipient.
There's only
Mr.
one
Wilbanks-
recipient.
Mr. William Wilbanks Miller.
That's right, Susan. One recipient from Northside, that is Mr. William Miller. And I believe his wife will be accepting this. Yes, I believe that's his wife accepting the commemorative insignia and certificate from Premier Honourable Alden McLaughlin, as well as Minister of Parliament.
She has a wonderful sense of humor.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. At this time, I will call upon His Excellency the Governor to please join the Premier. We have two recipients from Cayman Brac and Little Cayman in the category of Early Pioneers. That is Captain Theophilus R., known to us as Captain Theo Bodden, OBE.
So the family member of Captain Theophilus R. Captain Theo Bodden, OBE, is making her way to the stage to accept the award on his behalf. Blessed memory.
And this is in the category
And
of
indeed,
early
Captain
pioneers.
Theo hailed from Little Cayman.
I learned something new today.
So did I.
Captain Daniel Corin Jervis.
The late Captain Daniel Jervis receives the Early Pioneers Award, and accepting that award looks like it could be his son, Susan. And I don't want to be wrong, so I'll just say a relative.
Yes.
Receiving the award and is now taking just some pictures with Premier Honourable Alden McLaughlin and His
Thank you,
Excellency Governor.
Your Excellency. And now we move to the pioneer category. A pioneer is an individual who made an exceptional contribution from the 1940s through the 1980s in the areas of shipbuilding, boat building, shipping administration, turtling, or seafaring. They will be honored with a commemorative insignia and a certificate. In a few cases, the awardee's family member or representative will accept the award in their honor. I call upon Minister Seymour once again to join the Premier as we begin with pioneers for the area of Bodden Town. We begin with Mr. Walsham Connolly, JP. Receiving on behalf of Mr. Walsham, who is unable to be here today, is the President of the Seafarers Association.
He's bedridden, but he's doing well.
Yes.
Banana orchid, the wild banana orchid, which is the
Mr.
national
John
flower of the
Stanley
Caymans, among
Douglas.
other symbols. So Mr. John Stanley Douglas is up next. Gets a big round of applause there.
He's always with big smiles.
Oh, I love. Yeah, he's
love
got
it.
a beautiful smile. And there's a photo opportunity with the Culture Minister, the Honourable Dwayne Seymour, and Premier, the Honourable Adam McLaughlin. A big thank you from Mr. John Stanley Douglas. And I believe there are
Captain Charles
Captain
Bud
Charles, yeah.
Reddington Gilman II.
Captain Charles Bud Reddington Gilman Sr. is accepting certificate and the commemorative insignia in his honor.
Mr. Harwell M. McCoy, OBE, MBE, BEM, JP.
Family member makes her way to the podium to accept the award on behalf of Mr. Harwell M. McCoy, OBE, MBE, BEM, JP.
Captain Graham Watler.
This is Captain Graham Watler, who's being recognized in the Pioneer category. And a family member steps forward to accept his award in this category.
And these individuals, they have made exceptional contributions from the 1940s to the 1980s in the areas of shipbuilding, boat building, shipping administration, turtling, and seafaring. They received both the commemorative insignia and certificate.
Thank you, Minister Seymour. I now call upon the Leader of the Opposition, Honourable Arden McLean, as we present pioneers for the area of East End.
And with that, I believe there are
Mr.
two in this category.
Mr. Rollin Radley Gerzong.
Opposition leader that will be handing out the certificate to Mr. Rollin Radley Gerzong. And also the Premier presenting a commemorative insignia to the recipient. It's turning out to be such a beautiful evening.
Yes, the weather is beautiful.
Mr. Albert Stanton Jackson.
Her way to the podium is the relative of Mr. Albert Stanton Jackson, recognized in the Pioneers category. An individual who made an exceptional contribution from the 1940s to the 1980s in the areas of shipbuilding, boat building, turtling or seafaring, shipping administration.
And they're having a quick chat there with the opposition leader, the Honourable V. Arden McLean, and Premier, the Honourable Adam McLaughlin, as he presents the commemorative insignia to the family member of Mr. Albert Stanton Jackson. And Sean, I believe up next will be the North Side in the Pioneer category. Seeing just one recipient in that category. You're listening to live coverage of the National Heroes Day celebrations and the birthplace of democracy, Pedro St. James Castle
Thank you,
in Savannah.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition. I call upon MP, Mr. Ezra Miller, to once again return to the front as we honor a pioneer for the area of Northside. Mr. Dalton Lyman Dwight Watler.
Family member being escorted by one of the members of the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service as she makes her way to accept the award of Mr. Dalton Lyman Dwight Watler, and being presented by MP Mr. Ezra Miller and the Premier of the Cayman Islands, the Honourable Alden McLaughlin.
I believe we may have gotten the MP mixed up on that one. Yes.
Okay.
Upon seeing Ms. Donna, I realized that should have been East End, so my sincere apologies to the leader of the opposition. We now recognize those who excelled at sea. This is an individual who, during their seafaring career, advanced in rank to the highest level of their profession or performed a lifetime, at least 40 years of service, regardless of final rank. They will be honored with a commemorative insignia and a certificate. In a few cases, the awardee's family, member, or representative will accept the award in their honor. And for you following along in your programs, the asterisk beside the name denotes that the family member or rep is to collect the award and the individual is deceased. We begin with our Excelled at Sea recipients from Borden Town. I call upon the Member of Parliament, Mr. Anthony Eden, to join the Premier at the center stage.
If you're watching on CIG,
Mr. Alfred
YouTube,
Berry.
thank you for watching. The first recipient, Mr. Alfred Berry.
Would you prefer for Mr. Eden and the Premier to come down? Okay. Premier and Mr. Eden, if he's so kind just to join.
And for this category, the Excelled at Sea, it's for an individual alive or deceased who during their seafaring career advanced and ranked to the highest level of their profession or performed a lifetime, at least 40 years of service regardless of final rank. And I believe Mr. Alfred Berry is receiving a commemorative insignia and certificate.
From MP Mr. Anthony Eden and Premier the Honourable Alden McLaughlin.
Susan, you mentioned the wild banana orchid is a part of the insignia. And I believe also a compass symbol is a part of that. And I believe it's to honor and learn from the past while looking to the future and focusing on everything it has to offer. A very unique symbol on the commemorative insignia.
Yeah, it also has the, I believe, the turtle, the cat boat, and the anchor, and the circular helm on the left side stands not only for the excellent vessels our seafarers built, commanded, and sailed on, but also the ongoing connection between the seafaring traditions.
Next Excelled at Sea recipient is Captain Joseph Leonard Ebanks.
Cayman Islands had a lot of captains, and this one is awarded to Captain Joseph Leonard
President of the
Ebanks.
Seafarers Association is receiving it on his behalf.
It's interesting, Susan, because many started their careers as ordinary seamen, and by the time they retired, they were master mariners, as Minister Seymour mentioned, and they were captains and chief cooks. It's amazing.
Yes. They were always in high demand for the shipping agents who wanted to hire them. Caymanian seamen have come a long way and have gone so far. Mr. James Andrew Eden. I think that's DJ Lynn's dad, yeah,
Yes.
getting award in this category, Excelled at Sea.
Excelled at Sea.
Nice smile there. Handshake to the MP, Anthony Eden, and a handshake also to the Premier, the Honourable Anthony McLaughlin, as they stand. And some applause for Mr. James Andrew Eden in the Excelled at Sea category.
Mr. Woodrow William Eden. Mr. Andrew Eden will be collecting that on behalf of his father, the late Mr. Woodrow William Eden.
William Eden being accepted on his behalf by his son, who also got an award,
Thank you,
Mr. James
Mr.
Andrew
Eden.
Eden.
I call upon MP Mr. Christopher Saunders to join the Premier at center stage for the next group of recipients. We begin with Captain Eldon Eden Kirkconnell, OBE JP.
And this category of awards been awarded by MP Chris Saunders and also Premier the Honourable Alden McLaughlin. A family member is making their way to accept on behalf of Captain Eldon Eden Kirkconnell, OBE.
If there's one thing that we learned today and throughout the celebration, Susan, is that seafaring is an integral part of the Cayman Islands' history, identity, society, economy, and development.
It built homes and raised a lot of children, and yeah, it's all in the fabric of this society.
Now I get it. You founded it upon the seas.
There you go. And there's a prayer also within this program. I hope someone get the opportunity to read that, because that's quite nicely put together. Applause there for Captain Eldon Eden Kirkconnell, OBE. I think there's a couple Jacksons that's going to be recipients here this
The
afternoon
next
as well.
recipient is Captain Harlan E. Jackson.
Beautiful evening so far. The rain has held up. So Captain Harlan E. Jackson, family member, is making their way to stage or the platform to accept on behalf of Captain Jackson. And in this category, maybe Shanda, you might want to just in case someone is just tuning in or
to
switching
remind
us on.
you again that
Yeah,
this particular category excelled at sea is for an individual alive or deceased who during their seafaring career advanced in rank to the highest level of their profession or performed a lifetime of
Mr.
service.
Lee Melbourne Jackson.
And it's regardless of their final rank that they're being recognized. And I love that for this particular category, they're also, having a commemorative insignia and certificate being awarded to them.
And this, I believe, yeah, Mr. Lee Melbourne Jackson. Will be accepting the award. Well deserved.
Well deserved. And you could see there's the smile and joy, making their way up into the podium and just shaking hands and receiving their award.
They travel, the Seafarers travels took them to many parts of the world. Japan, it comes to mind. I know my father spoke of Japan and Mobile, Alabama.
Mr. Neville
Eastern,
Gladstone
Middle East,
McCoy.
all over the world. Next up is Mr. Neville Gladstone McCoy. And we're still in the category of Excel at Sea. And you can hear the plane in the background. We're broadcasting live from National Heroes Day celebrations in Savannah at Pedro St. James. And Mr. Neville Gladstone McCoy accepting his award. From MP Mr. Chris Saunders, and a little laughter there. I'd like to hear that joke. And
Name safe.
Honorable Premier.
Next is Captain Abel Ramon Medina.
That is Captain Abel Ramon Medina receiving his award in the category of Excelled at Sea. And Susan, you were mentioning just a while ago that many of these seafarers venture to lands throughout the Caribbean, South and Central America, the U.S., and other countries, and just expanding their horizons, you know, and learning so much, and coming home and passing on that knowledge.
Right. And being awarded here this afternoon.
Yeah, it's like a full circle.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know, the Cayman rich maritime history consists of boat building, seafaring, serving in the merchant marine, and in various navies, even in times of conflict. Their voyages, as we mentioned, took them to all over the world. We're still in the category of Excel at Sea. I believe there are a couple of tidbits that will be recognized here this afternoon. Some laughter there from His Excellency the Governor, Mr. Martin Roper, with the recipient, and also with the Premier. Well deserved.
And for the next two presentations, we'll ask the Premier to please come to the foot of the stage, and Mr. Saunders. So.
I believe the next two recipients, as the Premier makes his way to the bottom of the stairs, will be Captain Darwin Tibbets and Captain Kinton Tibbets.
You're watching live and full coverage of the 2021 National Heroes Day celebrations, the first of two on Grand Cayman.
Captain Darwin Leach Tibbets.
Family member of Captain Darwin Leach Tibbets. I believe it's his son is accepting certificate and a commemorative insignia on behalf of his father, Captain Darwin Leach Tibbets.
And Captain Kenton Tibbets.
And Captain Kenton Tibbets is making his way to the area where MP Saunders and Premier the Honourable Alden McLaughlin will present him with a certificate and a commemorative insignia. They're having a little chat.
Once again, we are celebrating our seafaring heritage. It is live on CIGTV and on Radio Cayman 89.9 FM. CIGTV on YouTube and on Facebook as well.
Yes. The applause there for Captain Kenton Tibbets. And some joke, making some laughter. You know, the seamen, they had a great sense of humor.
They did.
Yeah.
A really nice photo opportunity.
I believe there are two remaining in this category of Excelled at Sea to accept their awards.
And if I can ask the Premier and Mr. Saunders to remain here. We have a few more actually. To remain here, yes, thank you. Mr. Astor Foreman Watler. Okay, and we'll move on to Mr. We'll move on to Mr. Clinton Albert Whitaker.
Mr. Clinton Albert Whitaker to accept his award.
One thing I noticed, Susan, is that there's some strong handshakes going on.
Oh, yes.
From our seafarers. It still shows that they have that strength and vigor and energy, even after all these years of service. And
as a seaman once told me, he said, a strong handshake is like a contract.
Wow.
They would shake hands, and that was it.
As we move into the Excel at Sea category, we will be recognizing East End awardees. So if the Honorable Leader of the Opposition would be so kind as to rejoin the Premier at the front of the stage, down below. We have a number of recipients.
Category for East End, there were a number of, I believe, 8 recipients in the category of Excel at Sea. And this is for the District of East End.
We begin with Mr. Kevin Chesley Connolly.
receiving his commemorative insignia and certificate in the category of Excelled at Sea. And Premier Honorable Alden McLaughlin, along with MP Minister Arden
We're
McLean.
ensuring that our Premier gets his daily exercise today,
making their
keeping
way
him
back
in good shape.
to the podium, to the platform.
Bear with us as we are trying to make this as convenient as possible for our recipients.
I love the flow, Susan.
Especially
It's going
those
very smoothly.
Mobility challenged. The next recipient is Mr. Samuel Chesley Connolly.
Mr. Samuel Chesley Connolly, and I believe a member of the late Mr. Samuel Chesley Connolly is accepting on his behalf.
Mr. Leslie Forbes.
And a family member is accepting on behalf of Mr. Leslie Forbes.
And I believe you will be also receiving from Captain Cuthbert McLaughlin. Yes, Captain Cuthbert McLaughlin.
So there's a total of 10 in this category for the District of East End. Just some changes there.
Mr. Wilbur McLaughlin.
CIG, if you're listening by YouTube, by way of Facebook, also on Radio Cayman, we bring you live coverage of the 2021 National Heroes Day celebration live from Savannah, Pedro, St. James.
If you're probably wondering, how I can get on to CIG to watch instead of listen, listening, you can actually check out Logic Channel 20, Flow Channel 106, and C3 Channel 3, 23, 23. Logic 23. And don't forget, we also have live coverage coming to you tomorrow at 9 a.m. at Heroes Fair.
And I believe tomorrow is going to be 3 bus unveil as well as the theme for the 2022. So we look forward to that.
Lots of new features actually happening tomorrow and very exciting news and announcements happening. So definitely want to tune in for that as well.
Captain Rupert Andrew Pearson.
Captain Rupert Andrew Pearson is receives the Excelled at Sea Award.
Captain Wardell Rankin. We have no recipient for Captain Rankin. We will receive his at a later time. If I could please ask the Premier and Leader Opposition to please make their way to the front of the stage for the next few recipients. Mr. Trevor Watler, Certificate and Badge of Honor.
Big applause there for Mr. Trevor Watler. And in the Excel at Sea, this is for the Excel at Sea category. Some opportunity there for a photo shoot, or photo opportunity with the Premier, the Honourable Alden McLaughlin, and the Opposition Leader, the Honourable V. Arden McLean.
Thank you, Premier.
This is presented to
You may
Mr. Trevor Watler.
The next recipient is Mr. Wade Exel Watler.
And the next recipient in this category is Mr. Wade, or a family member accepting on behalf of Mr. Wade Excel Watler.
Mr. Ryman Calvin Whitaker.
And Mr. Ryman Calvin Whitaker makes his way to the platform to accept a certificate and a commemorative insignia from the Opposition Leader, V. Arden McLean, and the Premier, the Honourable Alden McLaughlin.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition. I call upon MP for Northside, Mr. Ezra Miller, to return to the stage for the next few recipients. Mr. Gilbert Cardiff Chisholm. There's no recipient for Mr. Chisholm. Mr. Douglas will receive it on his behalf.
So, recipient of Northside, Mr. Gilbert Cardiff Chisholm.
Mr. James Samuel Chisholm. I believe Mr. Miller will receive it on his behalf.
So that was Mr. James Samuel Chisholm, the late Mr. James
Next we
Chisholm.
have Captain Larry Garnett Ebanks.
To accept the award for the late Captain Larry Garnett Ebanks.
And in full regalia, Captain Harris Arlen McCoy.
That's right. Captain
One of our
Harris
greatest sea
Arlen
captains.
McCoy. A big round of applause as he makes his way to the
Only
platform
recently
to
retired.
accept his award.
In
And
his full captain suit.
And well ironed as well.
Well ironed. I love it. I love it.
Big smile. Captain Harris Arlen McCoy.
We'll ask His Excellency to join for this photo as well, with Captain Arlen. H.E., you wish to join the photo?
Harris McCoy receives his commemorative insignia and certificate.
Captain Ned Jerris Miller, Sr.
The family member accepting on behalf of Captain Ned Jerris Miller Sr.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. And Mr. Miller. At this time, we're going to be doing what one of Mr. Andy Martin's songs say. We're going back to the BRAC again. We have a number of Excelled at Sea recipients for the area of Cayman BRAC and Little Cayman who will be receiving their awards here this evening. I'm going to ask the Honorable Deputy Speaker to join the Premier for some of these presentations. Mr. William Vanfield Dakers.
And the daughter of Mr. William Vanfield Dakers.
The daughter is, yes.
The two daughters, actually, because there are two of daughters making their way to the stage to accept on behalf of Mr. William Vanfield Dakers. Photo taken there with the Honourable Deputy Speaker, the Honourable Barbara Connolly, and Premier, the Honourable Alden McLaughlin.
Captain Rudland Clendon Foster.
And the family member of Captain Rudland Clendon Foster is accepting his award on his behalf. Radio Cayman and CIG bringing you live coverage of the National Heroes Day celebration live.
Captain Gerald
from Savannah.
Rayburn McLean.
So the time is it's about 6 o'clock now, heading into the evening, but I would think that the program is going it's flowing rather smoothly, and we are going through these names and the awards rather quickly. So just in case you're tuning in and you're probably wondering, what did I miss? You still have a lot of time in with the program, with awards being given out now in various categories, 6 categories to be exact, for this year's National Heroes Day celebrations. This is part 1 of 2 for the National Heroes Day celebrations on Grand Cayman. Be sure to tune in tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. where we will be providing you.
I'm not certain whether we will require you to head to the front of the stage, but next on the list we have Captain Carol Rich. Yes, Premier and Deputy Speaker, would you be so kind as to make your way to the foot of the stage?
And the Honourable Premier and Honourable Deputy Speaker making their way to the bottom of the stairs to present this award to Captain Carol Rich.
Captain Martin W. Rich and Captain Timothy Rich all will be presented and received at this time.
Rich with Seafaring Heritage. Captain Carol Rich, Captain Martin W. Rich, and Captain Timothy Rich.
That's Captain Carol Rich, followed by Captain Martin Rich and Captain Timothy Rich.
And this is in the category of Excel at Sea. And this are, I think, in the area of Cayman and Little Cayman, they decided to accept the awards here in Grand Cayman.
That's a good haul. Thank you, Deputy Speaker. And I will call upon the member for Newlands, Mr. Alba Saku, to assist with the next few. Okay. Captain Errol Steve Scott, Sr.
And this is for Captain Errol Steve Scott, Sr. I believe there are 7 more recipients in this category for Cayman and Little Cayman in the Excelled at Sea category.
And once again, it's the individual alive or deceased who during their seafaring career advanced in rank to the highest level of their profession or performed a lifetime, at least 40 years of service regardless of final rank. They receive the commemorative insignia and certificate.
Captain Hyman Davis Scott.
And family member makes his way to accept the award for Captain Hyman Davis Scott. There are several Scots in this category.
About 6, wow, about 6.
Mr. Lawrence Eddie Tate Scott.
And a family member there accepting the award on behalf of Mr. Lawrence Eddie Tate Scott. Big smile as MP Alba Saku and the Premier, the Honourable Alden McLaughlin, presents the certificate and commemorative insignia.
Captain Leland Scott.
Just to remind you that each early pioneer, women in seafaring, and excelled at sea award recipient at this year's National Heroes Day will be presented with a custom commemorative insignia designed to honor their outstanding contributions to the seafaring heritage of the Cayman Islands. And what will happen is that it's intended to be attached to the clothing and worn at special occasions from here on out. And Susan, I spotted with my eye former Minister Kurt Tibbetts. What a lovely surprise to see him here this evening. And he just gave us a wave, so we just really wanted to make mention of that. Very good to see him.
So we heard Captain Leland Scott and also Captain Marcus Rudolph Scott and family members accepting on their behalf. A lot of captains, Scots here.
A lot of captains.
Mr. Luther Cardell Tatum.
And the family member makes their way to the platform to accept the award on behalf of Mr. Luther Cardell Tatum. And it's been presented by MP Alva Saku and Premier the Honourable Alan McLaughlin. Getting a little windy here, but
I take it. I take the wind.
So applause
Captain Talbot Nashville Tatum.
So Captain Talbot Nashville Tatum is making his way to the platform to accept his award on this 2021 National Heroes Day celebrations live from Savannah. Some applause there. And also, I believe the next category will be one more
Pioneer for the Sister Islands.
Okay. Then after that will be the Women in Seafarer.
Correct that. And that is Mr. James Benton Banks, Pioneer for the Sister Islands.
And two family members are making their way to accept the award for.
I believe this is in the category of excelled at sea. And Susan, I think what's coming up now is the recognition of the women in seafaring. And I'm looking forward to this, especially because we recognize that the women stayed home and they held down the fort and raised the families while their loved ones were far away. And I do believe it is such a special opportunity for the women to be recognized.
We now recognize women in seafaring. These women bravely went to sea or made exceptional contributions to our island's seafaring heritage. They will be honored with a commemorative insignia and a certificate. In a few cases, the awardee's family member or representative will accept the award on their behalf. I call upon MP Mr. Anthony Eden to assist with the Women in Seafaring Awards for the area of Bordentown.
Yeah. And just a correction, that was for Pioneer, and for Cayman and Little Cayman, Mr. James Benton Banks.
Yes.
Next up, as the Master of Ceremonies
Irene
mentioned, Women in Seafaring.
Loretta Eden.
Looks like someone we recognize. Looks like that is our very own colleague there, DJ Lynn, accepting on behalf of his mother, the late Miss Irene Loretta Eden. And this is for the category of Women in Seafaring.
Mrs. Patsy Ruth Phillips.
The next recipient was Miss Patsy Ruth Phillips, but I believe Mr. Denniston Tibbetts is accepting on her behalf.
Yes, that is the Seafarers Association president.
And that is for a certificate and also a commemorative insignia. Or this.
A very special category.
Yes, and he's already in place to receive on behalf of his mother, Mrs. Trilby Selma Tibbetts.
Miss Trilby Selma Tibbetts bravely went to sea, or in this category,
There are so many incredible
exceptional
stories we're learning
contributions.
of women who actually went to sea.
Yes.
Quite often we think of women's contributions in terms of keeping the home fires burning, which was very, very important. And we're finding out that many Caymanian women actually received contracts to work on national bulk carriers or other ships, as many of them were able to join their husbands who were officers on the ships, and eventually were hired themselves by the ships in various roles. So we're learning important parts of our history. Thank you, Mr. Eden. And at this time, I'll call upon MP for Northside, Mr. Ezra Miller, to come forward for the Women in Seafaring recipients from Northside. We have Mrs. Rosemary Anderson.
And MP Mr. Ezra Miller will be presenting alongside Premier the Honourable Alden McLaughlin for the category Women in Seafair for the District of Northside, Ms. Rosemary Anderson. In Savannah at Pedro St. James.
And in case you're probably wondering,
Mrs. Virginia McCoy.
in case you're probably wondering, due to the COVID-19 restrictions, each event, the celebrations will be celebrated by district groupings to honor those who made outstanding contributions to our seafaring heritage from that district. So just following the COVID-19 protocols, this is why we've established the 3-day event celebrations.
Nice applause there for the recipient, her family member accepting on behalf
And
of
I'll
Ms.
ask Mr.
Virginia
Miller to stay in
McCoy.
place as we now move to the Friends of Seafarers category.
Next
This
up,
individual or organization or company was instrumental in facilitating and supporting Caymanian seafarers or provided assistance to Caymanians while they were at sea. They may have been based in the Cayman Islands or internationally. They'll be honored with a certificate. In a few cases, the awardee's family member or representative will accept the certificate in their honor. So starting off with Northside, the special friend of seafarers, Mrs. Dolan Nell Miller.
And in this category, Friends of Seafarers is for an individual alive or deceased, or an organization or company that was instrumental in facilitating and supporting Caymanian seafarers or providing assistance to Caymanians while they were at sea.
And two members of the late Miss Dolan Nell Miller is accepting the awards in the category of Friends of Seafarers.
And they
Thank you, Mr.
are
Miller.
recognized. They will be recognized with a certificate.
I now call upon the Minister for Culture, Mr. Seymour, to join the Premier for the presentation of Friend of Seafarer, He's now a transplant for the area of Bodden Town, originally from Cayman Brac, and you heard him here this afternoon, Mr. Andy Martin. Is Mr. Andy still here?
I wonder if he's sing his way up to the platform. Mr. Andy Martin being recognized here as friend of Seafarers.
Yes, indeed. All right. We will also mention a number of the other friends of Seafarers recipients, because as the Seafarers are here today, many of them would recognize these names and acknowledge them. Thank you, Mr. Miller. We have Cayman Energy, Humphrey and McGregor Incorporated, Imperial Oil, Jamaica Fruit and Shipping Company, National Bulk Carriers, Reynolds Caribbean Steamship Company, and the Swanee Steamship Company, who employed many a Caymanian seafarer and supported them in many different ways. Thank you again, Mr. Miller. I'll ask the Acting Deputy Governor, Mr. Eric Bush, to please come forward for the next presentation to special friends of seafarers. And that is to acknowledge and recognize the founding board members of the MACI, Maritime Authority of the Cayman Islands. So indeed, perhaps as the chief officer responsible for the Maritime Authority of the Cayman Islands, Mr. Bush can receive it on their behalf. We don't see the representative from the Maritime Authority of the Cayman Islands. Taking us into a new era of seafaring and defending. Okay, I think Mr. Eden will come forward to receive Mr. Bush, and Mr. Eden will come forward to receive on the Maritime Authority's behalf. Thank you again, Mr. Eden, for that.
We
have a family
CIG
member
bring you live coverage.
a representative from the family of Mr. Walsham Connolly. I believe he was on parade, and I believe the family has requested that he walk across the stage on Mr. Walsham's behalf. So, Mr. Rankin make his way to the stage? Yes, he's coming now. He's literally on double duty.
As we wait for that to happen. I mean, the protocol office has really done a great job with it, even the decoration. I'm not sure who decorated the stage and the flags, and such a beautiful feeling. And we're so proud of our seafaring industry.
I absolutely agree with you, Susan. It's such a lovely display this evening. They still try to make it as special and full, even even respecting the existing COVID-19 protocols and safety measures. Knowing that one difference this year is, of course, the attendance by invitation only.
We now pause to recognize those seafarers on the memorial scroll. These individuals made the ultimate sacrifice and lost their life as a result of going to sea or serving as a seafarer. They will be honored, or their memory will be honored, with a certificate. The awardees' family members or representatives will accept this certificate in their honor.
And this category is the memorial scroll, I believe.
I will ask MP Mr. Alva Sakou to please come and join the Premier.
The Master of Ceremonies is Cabinet Secretary Mr. Samuel Rose.
Mr. Hugh Charles Bush Sr.
And I believe this is for the District of Town, Captain Hugh Charles Bush, Sr.
That one was received already by
I believe so, yes.
Hugh Charles Bush Jr. is crossing the stage in honor of his father.
So this is the memorial scroll category, and this represents the deceased person who made the ultimate sacrifice and lost their life at going to sea and serving, or rather, serving as a seafarer.
Thank you, Mrs. Saku. If Mr. Saunders would be so kind to once again join us. The next two.
In the memorial scroll, there's going to be recipients from the districts of East End and Town.
Mr. Hopkin Watler. Mr. Eden, will you make your way forward to receive on his behalf?
And Mr. Eden is making his way to the platform to accept on behalf of Mr. Hopkin Watler.
Okay. I didn't specify which Eden, so that one is my fault. Thank you, Mr. Andrew Eden and Mr. Anthony Eden. Thank you both. My apologies. And Mr. Norman Wood.
Still in the category of memorial scroll, and Mr. Norman Wood, family member, is going to accept the award on his behalf.
Mr. John Douglas, would you kindly receive this one on behalf of Mr. Norman Wood?
So Mr. John Douglas is going to be accepting this award on behalf of Mr. Norman Wood.
And just a quick note, if you would like to learn more about the Seafarers' legacy, you can visit www.caymanseafarers.ky.
Call upon the Honourable Leader of the Opposition to join us. Thank you again, Mr. Saunders. Honourable Leader of Opposition, please join us for the East End Memorial Scroll recipients. Captain Thomas Dilmore Connolly.
And the family member being escorted by the Royal Cayman, a member of the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service, on behalf of Captain Thomas Dilmore Connolly to accept his award. We're in the district of East End for the memorial scroll. I believe there are two more in this category for the district of East End.
Mr. Wilfred Gillis Connolly.
And family member shakes hands with the Premier, the Honourable Alden McLaughlin, and Opposition Leader V.R. McLean to accept on behalf of the late Mr. Wilfred Gillis Connolly.
Dilbert. Mr. Douglas, will you be so kind to collect this one on behalf of Mr. Dilbert?
And once again, Mr. John Douglas accepts the award in the Memorial School category on behalf of the late Mr. Armand Dilbert.
Thank you, Honourable Leader. And if I could ask the Honourable Minister for Culture to join us one last time for the Memorial Scroll recipients from Cayman Brac and Little Cayman who are receiving theirs here today. Mr. Osborne Bodden.
We're still in the Memorial Scroll for the area of Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. and a family member accepting on behalf of Mr. Osborne Bodden. You're listening to live coverage of the 2021 National Heroes Day celebrations at Pedro St. James in Savannah.
If you've been here with us since 4 p.m., we thank you so much for tuning in.
And finally, memorial scroll in memory of the late Mr. Franklin Jervis.
And as the Master of Ceremonies mentioned, in this category, the final recipient is Mr. Franklin Jervis, a family member accepting on his behalf. I believe after this, it's going to be the ringing of the bell 8 times in memoriam, and everyone will stand and as we observe a moment of silence for those lives lost at sea.
Thank you once again to all of our recipients. As we end with this category, the memorial scroll, we will ring the bell 8 times in memoriam. Please stand as we observe a moment of silence for those lives lost at sea. You may be seated. This year's nomination process has revealed the names of 2 of the last known Caymanian seafarers who are still active at sea. There could be more, but these are the only 2 that have come to light as a result of the process, and continuing our great Caymanian tradition of seafaring. I now invite the Honourable Arden McLean, Leader of the Opposition, to specially recognize them. Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Good evening. Protocol having already been established, it is my distinct pleasure to participate in this special commemoration and celebration of our seafaring heritage. For my part, growing up in East End, I was heavily influenced by the many who went to sea and came home with stories of the ports they had visited. I see many of them here this evening. It was natural then for me to want to experience such travels. That being the case, I've gone on record many times to note that while I took the route of seafaring as my first career after completing high school, I did it out of choice and not out of necessity, unlike the majority of the seafarers we are recognizing today and throughout 2021. I therefore do not consider myself as being equal to them, if for no other reason than for the many sacrifices their generation made to lay the foundation for generations to follow. However, I am grateful for the impact that my seafaring career had on my life journey, and I'm always honored to be in the company of my fellow seafarers. I'm especially pleased that we as a community are using 2021 to recognize the transformational impact seafaring has had on our society. Let there be no doubt, this country has been built on a foundation established by seafaring. Oftentimes, we speak of our seafaring heritage in the past tense, implying that it is part of our history and no longer relevant. While it is true that most of our Caymanian seafarers have now returned home and are no longer plying the oceans to earn their living, the 2021 National Heroes Day nomination process has revealed the names of two of the last known Caymanian seafarers who are still active at sea and continuing this great Caymanian tradition. It is my distinct pleasure to share the brief stories of the seagoing careers of these two outstanding Cayman brackers, Captain Anderson Radley Scott and Mr. Gentry Lee Tatum. Captain Anderson Radley Scott. Captain Radley, as he is affectionately known in the BRAC, was born on February the 22nd, 1949 in West End, Cayman BRAC. His seafaring career began at the youthful age of 16. Incredibly, at just 19 years old, he was made captain of the Foster Trader, a cargo ship, after the captain passed away suddenly during a voyage. The ship's owners were so impressed by his performance and ability that they authorized him to remain as the captain. Continuing his studies at the Marine Institute of Jamaica, he obtained his master mariner license at the age of 23. He continued to sail throughout the Caribbean and around the world, but returned home to Cayman Brac in 1978 to work for Cayman Energy Limited in the ship-to-ship transfer business as a mooring master for several years. He continued with Cayman Energy Limited as they expanded lightering operations in the US, Aruba, Panama, and the United Arab Emirates. During these years, he was also involved in a number of salvage operations, removing oil from stricken tankers, all of which were successfully completed. In 1989, he became a mooring master with Jair Shipping Company, which was later acquired by TK Marine Solutions, Inc., based in Freeport, Texas. He has remained with this company for 32 years and he holds the position of senior mooring master. When ashore, the company draws on his incomparable experience for leadership and advice on several policies, on safety policies and procedures. Truly world-class, Captain Radley is one of the only 400 mooring masters in the world who are qualified to conduct ship-to-ship oil transfers. He has safely and efficiently completed approximately 2,500 ship-to-ship transfer operations involving a total of 5,000 tankers of various sizes during his illustrious career of almost 56 years at sea. 43 of which have been spent as a mooring master. His motto is, think safe, act safe, and be safe. Mr. Gentry Lee Tatum. Gentry Lee Tatum was born in Grand Cayman on February 3, 1984, to Edwin and Beverly Tatum, pastors of the Church of God Holiness on Cayman Brac. He attended Lamont Scott High School and went on to attend college at the University of Alabama. In 2007, he began his seagoing career as an ordinary seaman, or OS, with Martin Marine of Houston, Texas. He worked his way up to able-bodied seaman, or AB, progressed to become a tanker man, and is currently working in that position for Moran Shipping out of New York, where he has remained for the past 7 years. He has continued his training, obtaining a third mate license, but has not yet transition into that position. Depending on the tonnage of the articulated tug barges, or ATBs, he is working on, he can also sail as second or chief mate. An articulated tug barge consists of a barge and a large, powerful tug that is positioned in the notch of the stern of the barge, which enables the tug to propel and maneuver the barge. During his career, he has worked out of ports in Central America, including Belize and Panama, and was previously employed by Bouchard Shipping and in the Kirby Corporation, both out of New York. Opportunities are still there for anyone. In young Gentry's words, he says, "I love the ocean. It's part of my heritage, and I knew I could make a respectable living," unquote. We as a nation should be exceedingly proud of these Caymanians who are continuing this great tradition. It is our hope that throughout this year, if there are any other Caymanians still out there at sea, we will learn their names and hear their stories so that they too can be acknowledged and celebrated. As I close, I invite you to rise to your feet and offer a rousing round of applause to salute the ongoing service of these two Caymanian seafarers, of whom we are exceedingly proud. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Leader of the Opposition. I now invite the Acting Chief Officer of the Ministry of Health, Environment, Culture and Housing, Mrs. Nellie Pucci, and the Civil Service Employee of the Year and Coordinator for Seamen and Veterans Benefits, Ms. Lisa Welcome, to deliver the National Heroes Commemoration.
Good evening. Each year at National Heroes Day celebrations, we commemorate our national heroes. A national hero is a person who is admired and acknowledged for their courage, outstanding achievements, and noble qualities. A national hero is someone who, beyond that, has made a significant positive contribution to the growth and development of society and represents all of us. Honoring our heroes is an acknowledgement of who we are, our history, our heritage, our culture. Our first national hero, the Honorable Jim Manoa Bawden, was a charismatic trailblazer. Mr. Bawden was a visionary leader who ushered in a period of modernity and directed Cayman into an era of progress. As Minister for Tourism and Aviation, he was instrumental in establishing Cayman Airways and constructing Owen Roberts International Airport. Mr. Bawden's dedication to this country is forever commemorated by his statue, the first to be erected in Heroes Square. The Honorable James Manoa Bawden was declared a national hero in 1994.
The Honorable Sybil Ione McLaughlin is the epitome of accomplishment, grace, and decorum, an example of the qualities to which each of us as citizens should aspire. Mrs. McLaughlin is our second national hero and remains the only person to receive the highest award while she is still living. This honor was bestowed in recognition of her contribution to the Cayman Islands parliamentary development as well as to community life. Among the many milestones in her remarkable life was her appointment as the first Speaker of the Legislative Assembly in 1991 until her retirement in 1996. She joined the civil service in 1945 and was appointed Clerk of the Legislative Assembly in 1959. the first woman in the Commonwealth to hold this post. She served as secretary of the Cayman Islands branch of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association from 1965 to 1980. A founding member and former president of the Business and Professional Women's Club, she also served for many years as the organist at the South Sound United Church and the William Pucci Memorial United Church. The Honorable Sybil Ione McLaughlin was declared a national hero in 1996.
The Honorable Mary Evelyn Wood was a true pioneer who dedicated her life to bringing change to these islands and addressing the needs of her community. In her early 20s, Ms. Wood established a school, serving as its sole teacher. She later became a trained practical nurse, providing tireless care around Grand Cayman, but notably during the typhoid epidemic of the late 1930s. By 1957, an interest in women's rights led her to join hundreds of other women in signing the petition for female suffrage of that year, now commemorated in Pedro Square. Women won the right to vote in 1959, and in 1962, Ms. Wood became Bodden Town's representative in the Legislative Assembly, the first woman elected to the House, and also the first to serve on a jury. The Honorable Mary Evelyn Wood was declared a national hero in 2011.
The Honorable Ormond Lauder Panton is described as one of the most prominent political figures in the Cayman Islands history. Mr. Panton founded Cayman's first political party to successfully contest an election and the first Caymanian to win an election as party leader. As an outspoken attorney, Mr. Panton was the first Caymanian attorney to appear before the Privy Council in London. His professional skills, combined with his desire to help others, assured his success in many local trials. Mr. Panton was the youngest delegate to attend the West Indies Federation discussions and served as a lead negotiator between the United Kingdom and its overseas territories in discussion on independence. Representing the District of Georgetown as legislator, he introduced a motion to allow local authorities to issue U.S. visa waivers, thereby facilitating Caymanians' employment in the United States as merchant mariners and seafarers. In his private career, the outspoken attorney achieved many more firsts for his country, including succeeding in confirming his right to fair trial in 1955. This very special state of Cayman enjoyed working and interacting with people of all backgrounds, having participated in many areas of community life. He was also one of the first chartered Rotarians of Grand Cayman, and in 1984, he was honored by Queen Elizabeth II and became an officer of the Order of the British Empire for his contribution to society. The Honorable Ormond Lauder Panton was declared a national hero in 2011.
The Honorable William Warren Conley, a man of vision and drive, was a major player in the Cayman Islands' political, economic, and social landscape. He entered politics in 1944 as an elected member from East End. In 1959, under Cayman's first written constitution, he was appointed to serve as a nominated member of the Legislative Assembly. When Cayman received an advanced constitution in 1972, he became one of the first members of the new Executive Council. A founding member of the Cayman Islands branch of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, he came to be regarded as an expert on the Cayman Islands Constitution. During his prominent public service and political career that spanned over 3 decades, he helped set in motion some of the country's key legislation, including the 1972 Constitution, the Companies Law, and the 1975 Planning Law. He was instrumental in creating the Department of Tourism and the Mosquito Research and Control Unit. In addition, he spearheaded the official introduction of Cayman Islands currency in May 1972 and oversaw the completion of various key government works. The Honorable William Warren Connolly was declared a national hero in 2011.
The Honorable Desmond Veer Wattler was an exemplary citizen serving the community and an exceptional civil servant. Starting out as a clerk, almost 4 decades of public service saw him rise through the ranks to become, in 1969, the Cayman Islands' first treasurer, a title that was later changed to financial secretary. He became the first chief secretary, now deputy governor of the Cayman Islands in 1972. He served in the Legislative Assembly for 32 years and was the first official member and chairman of the Executive Council. Mr. Wattler regarded the provisions of proper communications and the writing of financial services legislation as being key factors in the progress of the Cayman Islands. He was honored twice by Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, first in 1966 as an officer of the Order of the British Empire and again in 1975 as a commander of that order. Highly regarded for his soft-spoken demeanor, he came to be considered a model of civil service integrity. His life remains a sterling example for today's young people, demonstrating that with hard work, dedication, and commitment to excellence, it is possible to reach the top of the career ladder. The Honorable Desmond Veer Wattler was declared a national hero in 2011.
The Honorable Sybil Joyce Hilton is remembered for her outstanding commitment to youth. She was the Cayman Islands' first probation and welfare officer and a lifelong advocate for disadvantaged people. She became the island's sole probation officer in 1963, going on to serve as the first head of the Probation and Welfare Department until 1982. This zeal for championing social issues, such as a separate court for juveniles, continued into her retirement from the civil service. In her private life, among other projects, she helped to develop the scouting movement in the Cayman Islands. She also played a vital role in establishing the Lions Club of Grand Cayman's Christmas programs for underprivileged families. Honored and recognized throughout the community for her numerous contributions to the lives of young people, she received the Cayman Islands Certificate and Badge of Honor in 1968 and was named a member of the Order of the British Empire 10 years later. The Honorable Sybil Joyce Hilton was declared a national hero in 2011.
The Honorable Dr. Roy Edison McTaggart was known as both a businessman and a philanthropist during a time when the Cayman Islands were at a crossroad. He is perhaps best remembered as an influential figure in ensuring the Cayman Islands remained a British Crown colony when Jamaica became independent in 1962. Totally opposed to aligning with Jamaica, he canvassed the Cayman Islands and received more than 3,000 signatures in support of remaining with Britain. A legislator representing Georgetown for more than 35 years, he helped bring free education to the Cayman Islands in 1931, introducing the Compulsory Free Education Bill. He was also the first chairman of the former Cayman Heritage Council. A dentist by profession, he embarked on numerous entrepreneurial ventures and was the chairman of the Cayman Islands Shipping Company Limited, that owned and operated the MV Simboco, a vessel that was a lifeline for Caymanians during World War II. A generous man, he contributed to the Pines Retirement Home and Prospect Youth Center. The Honorable Dr. Roy Edison McTaggart was declared a national hero in 2016.
The Honorable Thomas William Farrington was an outstanding citizen and a great contributor to the Cayman Islands community. A man of wisdom, persuasiveness, and sincerity, he represented the District of West Bay in the Legislative Assembly for 55 years, including time spent as the first elected member to be responsible for finance. He was named Father of the House for his lengthy and continuous service in the Legislative Assembly, as much as for his wisdom and insight in matters of public interest. He helped to establish what is today the John Gray High School and was instrumental in the development of the Cayman Islands' first airport, a key contributor to discussions regarding local participation in the West Indies Federation. He was among the first to be elected to the Executive Council after the first Constitution was introduced in 1959. In 1965, he became the first Caymanian to be honored by Queen Elizabeth II as a commander of the British Empire. The Honorable Thomas William Farrington was declared a national hero in 2011. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Pucci and Ms. Welcome. Do remain seated or in place as the parade marches back on the ceremony grounds.
The parade will march back on. Then I believe we're going to have the ringing of the bell and the recording of the Cayman Islands folk singers. And the ringing of the bell, as customary done on board the ships, it will be rung 8 times to signify the end of the watch.
As we await the arrival of the parade, shall we give another round of applause for our seafarers on watch? They have kept us from running aground tonight and have faithfully executed their duties. Please stand as the parade returns.
Right here in front of the stage or the platform. And the various contingents consist of the Royal Cayman Islands Police Band, the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service, and also the Cayman Islands Fire Service, Her Majesty Prison Service.
Yes, the parade marches back on the ceremony grounds for the official closing of part 1 of 2 celebrations, National Heroes Day 2021.
Also, I believe there's going to be a detachment of the Seventh-day Adventist Pathfinders. So it's evening now here at Peter St. James. We're glad that you're watching here via CIG on YouTube and also on the Facebook page. And also listening by way of radio on Radio Cayman. And as you can see now, the Cayman Islands Fire Service.
And as you can hear, the RCIPS Parade Band.
Looking very sharp. Her Majesty Prison Service is up next. And you see attachment of the cadets as they make their way to join the other members of the parade. Beautiful sight to see.
Right. Will I burn? Left. Check.
At this point in time, they are aligning themselves, which is something that I know so well about as a former Pathfinder myself. Oh, the days.
Right. Hold up. Hup.
So they are now in formation.
Right. And open order. Right. Step.
Nine still, front right.
Step.
You can also observe and see both young and old contingents.
Please stand at attention for the singing of our national song, the first verse of our national song, Beloved Isle Cayman, led by Mr. Arik Nicholson.
Discretion is the better part of it.
Land of soft, fresh breezes, of verdant trees so fair, with the Creator's glory reflected everywhere. O sea of palest emerald, merging to darkest blue. Whene'er my thoughts fly Godward, I'll always think of you. Dear verdant island set in blue Caribbean sea, I'm coming very soon, oh beauteous isle, to thee. Although I've wandered far, my heart enshrines thee yet. Homeland fair Cayman Isle, I cannot thee forget.
Thank you, Mr. Nicholson. This afternoon and into this evening has been a fantastic celebration of our history and heritage and an inspiration for our future. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this concludes our formalities for this year's Cayman Islands National Heroes Day celebrations at Pedro, St. James. Today we have made history as we've honored those individuals and businesses who have made extraordinary contributions to our seafaring heritage. We thank you, and to all of our seafarers, we say thank you for your service. We will now ring the bell as customarily done on board the ships. It will be rung 8 times to signify the end of watch. After which I will invite the Cayman Islands folk singers to take their places as they serenade our departing seafarers.
I can see the willows waving on your southern shores as the breeze gently whispers through the trees, and the song I hear you singing floats across the distant shores, and it seems to say, my child, come back to me.
Come back home to your islands, for I long to see you walk upon my sand. For my shores, they belong to my children, and my children belong to Grand Cayman. Come back home to your islands, for I long to see you walk upon my sand. For my shores, they belong to my children, and my children belong to Grand Cayman.
All seafarers are welcome to join the procession.
Northwest winds blow across your seas, and I can see the foaming whitecaps as they break against your shores. Like a distant drum, I hear them call to me. Come back home to your islands, for I long to see you walk upon my sand. For my shores, they belong to my children, and my children belong to Cayman Bride. Come back home to your islands,
song Come Back Home to Your Island.
Please do remain standing for the departure of the officials, beginning with His Excellency the Governor, Mr. Martin Roper.
And now we see the departure of His Excellency the Governor, Mr. Martin Roper. He makes his way off the stage.
Right. Set. Hold up. Up.
Please remain standing for the departure of the Premier, Honourable Alden McLaughlin.
The Honourable Alden McLaughlin.
Hold up. Up.
The Honorable Premier is making his way to the parade for the general salute.
Right. General salute.
We can now see the Premier, the Honourable Alden McLaughlin, as he departs.
The
parade stands now at ease.
The Commissioner, or the Deputy Commissioner of Police, now departs.
Deputy Commissioner of Police now departs.
Before the parade marches off, it's a gentle reminder that for those of you who have endured with us to the end, we have some refreshments at the tent to the back of the building, behind the AV tent. So please avail yourselves of what has been provided. Please remain standing as the parade marches off.
All right.
Parade various contingents of the parade getting in position to make their departure here from the National Heroes Day celebration, live from the Pedro St. James, Savannah. And now we can see the various contingents of the parade departing here. Royal Cayman Islands Police Band, Royal Cayman Islands Police Service, Her Majesty Prison Service, the Pathfinders,
And that is a wrap on the 2021 National Heroes Day, the Eastern District's event here at Pedro St. James, Savannah. Wow, Susan, what a program.
Yes, it was very, pretty much similar to Cayman Brac or the Sister Islands. We saw of course, the Master of Ceremonies done a wonderful job, Miss Cabinet Secretary, Mr. Samuel Rose, you can hear in the background. Then we had the conch shell blowing, and the arrival of the seafarers, it was so emotional as we saw them come into the area here at the Pedro St. James. Then the ringing of the bell as well.
Then we also had the presentation of the national flags, always with, giving you a sense of national pride every single time that they hoist those flags. Then we also had a number of remarks by Premier Honorable Alden McLaughlin, as well as Seafarers Association President Mr. Denniston Tibbetts. We also heard from Minister of Culture, the Honorable Dwayne Seymour, giving a historical insight into the seafaring heritage, which was really profound, Susan.
We had several, the keynote address was by the Premier, the Honorable Alden McLaughlin, also a musical tribute, Letter from Sea from the Cayman Cowboy, Andy Martin. We had the opening remarks by the Minister, Honorable Dwayne Seymour, Minister of Health, Environment, Culture and Housing, and also remarks from the President of the Cayman Islands Seafarers Association, Mr. Denniston Tibbetts. Then the ringing of the bell in memoriam, and a moment of silence, a ringing of the bell in memoriam, recognition of active seafarers, and that was done by Miss Nellie Pucci and Miss Lisa Welcome.
Yes, of course, we had the presentation of awards and recognition and honors. And of course, Susan, we cannot forget the musical items, both from Mr. Andy Martin, who was awarded himself, and of course the Cayman Islands Folk Singers, which you hear in the background right now. This was an amazing day celebrating our seafaring heritage, and guess what? We are not over yet, because tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. we are back at it at Hero Square for day 3 of honoring our seafarers and the men and women who've made significant contributions to its development.
Yes. Pleasure working with you, Shanda.
Yes.
Thank you, CIG TV, and also for all of the viewers on YouTube channel and the Facebook page, also on Radio Cayman, our listeners. Thank you so much. It's a wrap.
Bye-bye for now.